Just a bloke in a bar.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to another episode of Bloke in a Bar. First of all, we just want to get straight into Paul Green. First of all, rest in peace to Paul Green. Condolences to his family, his friends, everyone that knew him. I knew him personally for a couple of years. He was at the Broncos. He was our kicking and catching coach. Yeah, I mean, what is there to say? There are no words that can make this better, or it's just a devastating moment for the rugby league community. But, you know, sometimes in devastating moments, it shines a light on all the great things people did. And Paul Green did some pretty incredible things. You know, I would argue, you know, would North Queensland have a brand new stadium without Paul Green? Maybe not. Would Thurston have ended up in probably a mortality? Maybe not. Would Cowboys have their first premiership? Maybe not. He had a massive hand in all that. So, a giant amongst the game to achieve incredible things. And I just hope that his family is just, you know, doing the best they can in such a heartbreaking circumstance. Throw to you, Guru.
Yeah, devastating news last week. I obviously didn't know Paul Green personally, and you mentioned his coaching, like what he did as a player as well. State of Origin Australia, being a footy nerd like I am. I think it was 93. He won Player of the Year in the Queensland Cup. Came down to the NRL and won Player of the Year in the NRL 2 years later.
Wow.
So pretty impressive. Pretty impressive stuff.
And he's like a small fella that just ripped and teared.
Like you go back and watch those tapes of him for Cronulla, there was nothing to him. Just tough as nails and smart footballer too.
Yeah, real smart. Timmy?
Yeah, tough one, mate. It's I think it's not many people in society these days who haven't been impacted by this sort of thing at some point in their life, within family, friends, extended friends, whatever it might be. So it's hard not to resonate. Then it happens to such a great of the rugby league community. He's unfortunately, well, he's left a tremendous legacy in the game of rugby league. You mentioned as a player, as a coach, and what he's done up at the Cowboys. I remember before he got there, the Cowboys were just, you know, they're almost there to make up numbers at times, and that's the way it felt. They were out of sight, out of mind within rugby league media and whatnot. And what he went and did up at the Cowboys just put them right in the middle of the rugby league map. They became front and back page of the Telegraphs, the Courier Mails, all these sorts of things. So we'll remember him for the wonderful things that he had in his involvement in rugby league. Absolutely.
And like just me personally, and this will mean absolutely nothing to most people, and it will sound like such a tiny thing, but it was actually like it's stuck with me for many, many years. And it was honestly really important for me personally. Like coming into rugby league, I never got any appreciation for like the tough stuff. So like the tough carries and, you know, being tough. There was even, you know, I was negotiating with another club, and at the time, one of our managers at the Broncos literally said, he's an incredible finisher, incredible footy player, not that tough though. And that got back to me, and it stung me, because I was, that same year, you know, I'd done some tough things, like my lung had collapsed, my ribs, I'd try to come back, I'd played with broken ribs like 3 weeks after. Anyway, not to say, like, it was just frustrating because I'd put my body on the line. Anyway, a few years later, I honestly cannot remember many video sessions at all. There's literally only one video session I can remember, and it was Wynnum. We were at Wynnum, we were struggling, and we just couldn't find our way to get a win. The boys ended up going on to win the comp that year, but just in a video session, Greeny like highlighted a run that I had made, a tough run that I'd made, and, you know, in front of everyone gave me a rap for that tough run, and basically said, like, you know, it was tough or whatever. And for a guy that had never gotten appreciation for anything like that, being a smaller player, that honestly, it stuck with me. It literally stuck with me, that one little comment. And I know it means nothing to everyone else. Like, everyone else sitting there going, bro, that's such a nothing thing. But for me, constantly struggling with that, like, I was a soccer player turned NRL player. It honestly meant everything, because I finally had someone go, you know, you do the tough stuff. You do the tough stuff. So, you know, he's not here anymore, but thanks to Greeny for giving me that moment. As Timmy touched on, you know, mental health, all that stuff does not discriminate, guys. If you're struggling, seriously, reach out. Just even there's text lines. There's, you know, we'll get Maddie to put up a text and a call line on the YouTube here. You know, there's so many ways. Just Google it. You can Google it as well. Even to a mate, just reach out to a mate. Whatever it is, set a plan. Maybe just give yourself 2 weeks to just go, look, you know what, I'm going to go to the gym, be healthy for 2 weeks, and lift yourself out of whatever you're going through. But please just reach out if you are struggling. Seriously, just that one message might change everything. Now, onto the rugby league. Huge news. Ciraldo signs a 5-year deal with the Bulldogs. Guru, I'll get your thoughts, mate.
Yeah, obviously a lot of hype around Cam Ciraldo.
Is he the most famous assistant coach of all
Might be
time?
the greatest assistant coach of all time. And we've spoken about this before, and you can probably touch on it more. But everyone loves the assistant coach, so it'll be interesting to see how he goes. I mean, Penrith signing the assistant coach out of Penrith, that's meant to be the next big thing. We have seen this narrative before, obviously, with Trent Barrett. I know myself, I heavily brought into that. That obviously didn't work out, but I'd like to think that Cameron Ciraldo, hopefully it'll be a different story, because Canterbury, I think they're at a different point as well. Despite a poor loss on the weekend, I think Canterbury are definitely heading in the right direction, and hopefully, I think having Phil Gould in the building with him as well, hopefully it helps. I'm hesitant, but I'm hopeful.
Timmy.
Yeah, I think former Cooma stallion Brett White would have something to say about most famous assistant coach in the game. Whitey calling the shots for the Raids on the weekend. He had the blue trainer shirt on, calling the shots at half time for the Raids. So I was down in the capital on the weekend, actually. A bit of finals fever there, wasn't it?
Oh, give me a break. Give me a break.
And then, on Ciraldo, it's exciting hype. We're going into this new era at the Bulldogs. Where they're starting to come out of what's been a really dark period for them. And I suppose if the raps on Ciraldo are there, what better way to do it than with a first-time NRL coach? There's going to be a lot of pressure on him, especially off the success that Mick Potter's had at the Doggies at the back end of this season. We've heard all the raps, but let's see if they can evolve into success at NRL level. He's going to have the roster to do it. I think next year, we spoke about it quite often now. It's also an enormous show of faith to go with Ciraldo over interim coach Mick Potter, who's been wonderful for them. And Ciraldo's obviously been the long-term target. So we'll see how it goes, and good luck to Ciraldo.
Yeah, really, really interesting, this one. It can mean two things, because if it's a glass half empty, I'm sitting there going, why, if a coach is keen to come, why does he need to sign a 5-year deal? If he really wants to be a part of that club and build it, and that's the club he wants to be at above all other clubs. But then there's a glass half full where you're sitting there going, well, no, actually, if you want to give this guy a fair crack, you give him 4 to 5 years, or 3 to 5 years. And so I guess time will tell what was the right answer. Time will, tell. But 5 years, look, I've got no evidence for it, but surely there is some clauses in there. Surely on the back end, there's some clauses in there.
There would have to be. 5 years is a long time.
Look what
5 years
with,
is a long time in rugby league.
A week's a long time in rugby league. Look at the Storm right now. They've done it again against Minatia. I was like, when I was saying I don't know if they're going to pull it out this year, there was a loud voice in my head going, they're going to do it, they're going to do it. So, and they did it. They've proven me wrong again. Not to say that I'm fully convinced yet. We'll get to that. But the Ciraldo situation, look at Anthony Seibold. He took that Rabbitohs, it was a stacked Rabbitohs side, to a prelim, went to the Broncos. It was a disaster.
Yep.
An absolute disaster. And he won Rookie Coach of the Year or Coach of the Year? Coach of the year.
Yeah.
So the Coach of the Year went to a club with more resources, better squad, better everything pretty much. And that's no disrespect to Bulldogs. When it comes to, I'm talking about the setup for a coach. I'm not talking about, the club as a whole. And it didn't work out.
Yeah, and I think this is where people, and I had a lot of people, but look at Craig Fitzgibbon. It's like, Craig Fitzgibbon isn't the example though. He's the exception in the history of rugby league, realistically. Yeah. So,
and he's been hanging around for a long time, learning the traps.
I remember talking to Fitzy on my podcast about 2 years ago, and I sort of was in the mix of which of these 10 fucking clubs is Craig Fitzgibbon going to coach? He can have any of them. And I remember he said to me off mic, the strongest thing you can say sometimes is no. And he just said no to so many until the right one came. And, I'm not saying I think this is the wrong one for Ciraldo. He's been touted and talked about for a long time now. But, Craig Fitzgibbon, he went the long way around.
Yeah.
His old man was a coach in the NRL as well. There's been a lot that's gone into Fitzy. It'll be interesting to see what happens with Ciraldo here.
It's what's crazy is if this was like a 2 to 3 year deal, I think we'd all be saying, boom, nailed it. I mean, I think there'd be a small part of me that we're going, I think Potter's been a bit done by here. He's coached the Tigers to 9th. I know that's fucking not, but, look where they are now. Sorry, Tigers fans. So it wasn't like Potter was that bad. And then Potter has literally turned the club around in a season. Like, I have no doubt in my mind if Potter was there since round 1, that they're fighting for the 8. I don't know if they'd make it, but they'd be fighting.
But the other thing about Potter that I look at, and you're right, he has turned their season around. I think he's turned their season around with very common sense decisions that should have been made in January. And we don't need to rehash over those, but there's something to be built there at Canterbury. And,
for sure.
As per usual, there will be guys, I think, that will follow Ciraldo over there. Penrith Panthers have
I
obviously
think
got
Critter is gone.
You reckon he's gone?
Yeah.
And I mean, like their New South Wales Cup team is the equivalent of their first grade team in New South Wales Cup. So there's a heap of guys there that are fantastic depth, that are ready first graders, but just can't get a gig in this Penrith side. Taruva, you've got, your Falls, your Jamin Salmons, your Matty Eisenhuths, all these guys that are sort of fringe first graders that they would shit into the starting side of Canterbury.
Matty, can you check if Crichton just recently re-signed, as in like the last 12 months? But if he hasn't, because I just reckon that...
So he's contracted to the end of 2023.
Okay. Wow.
But it's interesting though for Penrith because even if they lose 1 or 2 guys, they've lost Sean O'Sullivan, Isaiah Katoa, Api Kurasau, Viliami Kickout. Like there's a number of Robert Jennings. There's a lot of guys that are leaving this side now. And
Where's Robert gone?
He's going to the Dolphins, I believe. I'm pretty sure he is.
He'll be a good pickup for the Dolphins.
He will be a good pickup. Yeah, and he's a classic. You got injuries, you bring Robert Jennings in, you're fine. Yeah. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens there because I do think a few will follow.
I think Critter. I think that I don't know how patiently he's going to sit in the centre for the rest of his career.
Yeah, and Cleary will be looking at him there going, he'll want to do everything he can to keep his 1, 6 and 7 together. Nathan Cleary, we know now, is on $1.3 million a year. We'll get to that shortly. And I find a lot of successful franchises in recent years or of all time, we've seen Melbourne do it. They pay up for those big positions. And particularly when the success comes and guys like Critter emerge and know they could command money elsewhere, that's the first position, like a centre, where a coach goes, sorry, mate, we can't hold on to you for 700, 8,000 plus a season when you can get it elsewhere. So see you later. I think I'm with you. And he's the first bloke who could be straight out there to play fullback at another club on close to double the money.
See, because I can see Critter in a Bulldogs fullback jersey, just quietly. Because when you think about it, like, he's not going to get like $1 million a year or whatever. At the Panthers, we'd have to check it, but he might be on what, 400-500K, I'd say. I think it was actually, let's just say 400-500K. Whereas doggies could probably afford a fullback, 600-700K for a fullback. And I feel sorry for Avrillo because he's just starting to find his feet. Not to say this is going to happen. I'm saying if it were to happen. What do you got there, Matty? So we just checked the top 100 rich list, and it says that Crichton is on 615. So if that is the case, then I don't see him going anywhere unless he's desperate to play fullback. It's 615 at centre in a premiership winning club.
Yeah. I think you've also got to keep in mind too that they've arguably got the best left edge in rugby league, and I think they'd be paying them peanuts right now. Isaac Tungo and Taylor May. So something's going to have to give at Penrith over the next few years. They're going to have to make hard decisions. They already have with Appy and Viliami Kickout, but...
Can you check how long Edwards is signed for, please? Because just quickly with this top 100 rich list, so Dave Riccio, quite a few journalists came together and put this together. And so I actually spoke to Dave Riccio and I was kind of like, mate, like, how do you know what they're on? Like, it's a private thing. Like, they should be able to have that privately. It shouldn't be public knowledge. And then Matty Johns was like, mate, back in my day, like, you never spoke about how much you're on ever in a team environment. And I was the same at the Broncos. But Riccio assured me, he's like, mate, I'm telling you right now, we speak to CEOs, player managers, football managers, directors. We speak to everyone, and these numbers are relatively accurate. So, like, I have to take them for their word. Like, I don't see why he would feel the need to.
So Edwards is signed until the end of 24 and Crichton 23.
Okay. Yeah. Look, I mean, if he is on 615K a year, does that mean that they may lose Taylor May? Didn't Tungo just re-sign? I think he did. Interesting.
Tungo is the end of 25.
Yeah, I am just struggling to see how they can afford to pay a centre 615. Okay.
Yeah. When's Taylor May signed to?
24.
I guess losing kick out there, losing Appy, but still,
6.15.
you wonder. Yeah, questionable.
Maybe it's an origin clause that's bumped that up.
And that's the other thing, which we'll get to the list shortly, but there'll be a number of figures that are swayed by back-ended deals. What's not to say that's not a back-end where we got paid 200 grand last year, but 600 this year, to be 400k a year sort of thing. So we do have to consider those sorts of things.
Interesting. To be honest though, I still see like maybe the Doggies do offer him 800k to go fullback and he wants to play fullback because I cannot see him being satisfied sitting out in the centre. Because he's so, like, when he plays fullback, he's amazing. He is amazing. Edwards is just so good.
What's the most you'd pay for him as a one?
Oh, see, I would have paid about 600 for him as a one.
So would I.
But if he's already on that, as I said, like, I always feel like these numbers are inflated. I really do.
Yeah.
But I put it to David Riccio, the journalist, and he is one of the better journalists. Timmy,
Dave's one of the real good ones out there. Very, very reputable journo, great fella. So if he gives you his word on it, I'd be taking it.
Yeah, exactly. And so, I said to him, like, I said, mate, like, how do you know it's like, I just don't believe it. I don't believe it. And he was like, I'm telling you right now, we do a bunch of research, we speak to the right people, and we get the right answers. So, going to have to trust it. Mate, there is a case for, they identified him as this next-gen freak, because he was, and then they just went, 4, 5, 6 on a 3-year deal just to stop. Because, like, there are players like Critter that come through and other clubs will literally just pay 600k because of his athletic ability. And so there could be a case where that's the truth, like that could happen. Anyway, we're getting a bit sidetracked here. Ciraldo to the Dogs. I think, like, the positive for the Dogs right now is they have a massive backing in the Laundry Group. These guys own, like, they're going well. They're going really well. They're going really well.
Not eating cans of tuna for dinner.
Exactly. And so when you go, it's a 5-year deal, and rightly so, I'm a bit like, it's a 5-year deal because of things we've seen happen in the past. The positive is the Laundry Group, if they do need to pay him out to go, they're probably going to be able to afford it. Like, so that's a positive. When it comes to coaching ability, the positive as well is I'm pretty sure Ciraldo has been a head coach. I know in not the environment that is the NRL, but I'm pretty sure he was the head coach of the under-20s. And so a lot of these guys you're seeing killing it now, he had a huge hand in their development. So, yeah, I think it's good. I think it's exciting times for the Bulldogs.
Yeah, it's also a good little, like, obviously, Ciraldo, you said he coached the under-20s. When you coach that Penrith junior system, they all go on to play first grade somewhere. Like, if you go back and have a look at that 20s team, like, there's so many players from around the league that have come through that team too. So it does give you little connections. Like, I'm pretty sure, just the way it works, like Corey Waddell was the back rower in that side. Like, he's obviously at Canterbury, but there'd be other little connections that Ciraldo would have around the league off the back of that.
Yeah, for sure. And the good thing is his profile's so big now, he probably won't struggle that much to sign players. And plus he's got Gus Gould behind him. Look, in a perfect world, I think a 3-year deal would have been perfect. But if put it this way, you're a director of the Bulldogs and you think Ciraldo's the guy, would you be willing to give him a 5-year deal to get him there? Because it seems like that's what needed to get him there.
Yeah, and I would be, because I think in rugby league, and especially if you are the Bulldogs with a bit of coin behind you, 5-year deal's scary on paper, but if it doesn't eventuate, that's fine.
You pay out a year
around it. Yeah, it's not. It's. I think 5-year deal, and I was the same when I first read it. I went, oh my god, it's the Wild West at the moment. What's going on? But the more you think about it, I think the less scary it is.
Do you think it's also to send a message to potential recruits? There's stability here. This is the fucking coach. This is the direction that we're going.
Yeah, and I think that's what a lot of clubs need to be very careful of. You don't want to be the club that seemingly has a new coach every 3 years. It's an awful look, and Canterbury have got to be careful that they don't land themselves in that basket.
And the history would show if you have coaches every second year or every third year, it doesn't actually help. What do you reckon, Tim?
Yeah, what have they done the last 10 years? They've had 4 coaches, have they?
Yeah, quite a lot.
Yeah.
They've had
they've had Des, Dean Pay, Barrett. Is there anyone in between? Was it Des straight to Dean Pay?
Straight to Dino, then to Trent Barrett.
So he'll be their 4th in Yeah, 10 or 11. Yeah. Okay.
Timmy, what do you reckon? If you're director of the Bulldogs, you doing it? 5-year deal?
Probably not 5. I think like 3 is lengthy enough for a bloke.
But if 5 is the only thing that's going to get him, like, as in, like, he's saying to you, I'll come, but I want 5 years. Yeah,
provided the right, as we said, details were put into the contract, as whether it be performance-based or whatever that might be. If there's the right clauses that say, all right, you know, if we are onto a flop here and he can't handle it at top level and he's no good in the first 2 years, that we can get rid of you if you finish below 12th in those 2 seasons or whatever. So there is an out clause for them. Cameron Ciraldo, like, obviously he's done a lot of hard yards to get where he is, but geez, he must be considering himself lucky because as an assistant coach to be offered a head coaching gig in the NRL, 5 years, he wouldn't be stupid. He'd be looking at the volatile nature of NRL coaching and how easy it is to be out of a job in no time, half the time through no fault of your own. Going 5 years, how good is this? Lock and load.
Yeah. It's and also if you back yourself, as most coaches should, and you're going, I've got 5 years to make this work. I know he could get pushed out or whatever, but if he wants to, he could dig his heel in and go, no, not going. Like, not going. I want to work this out. Then eventually they just have to pay the whole thing out. But I think it's exciting times. As I said, perfect world, you get him on a 3-year deal, but it sends a really strong message. It sends a real clear message to the players and potential players of like, this is the direction we're going, guys. Like, we've got a direction. Get on board. I'm sure there'd be clauses in there. I think the clauses in there would be like, you must finish top 8 in the last 2 years or something like that, or maybe the last 3 years, and then top 6 in the last 2 years or something along those lines. Exciting, really exciting. And it's the good thing is that I know the Doggies lost on the weekend and they played pretty poorly. Outside of that, they've been great. And you look at their young squad, it's probably going to be a huge factor in keeping Burton. I'd assume Burton has a good relationship with him. That may have played a big part in getting him to the club.
Well, that's the other thing. If they think there's a potential of getting Critter as well, all of a sudden you've got Critter, Kickow, Burton, like all these guys he's worked with at Penrith.
Yep. Exciting times, Doggies fans, exciting times. I do think Potter a little bit hard done by here, though. Oof. A little bit hard done by. I think they would have been faced with a tough choice of we can get Ciraldo now or we can risk losing Ciraldo to another club and give Potter another year. And they just went, you know what? Let's go with the young gun.
If you're one of these other clubs that needs a coach, do you look at Mick Potter?
I think so.
Yeah.
I honestly, like, he took the team from basically heading towards wooden spoon to competitive against top 4 sides. The thing is now, every coaching job is really taken now, though, which is bizarre to say. Apparently there's been like 21 coaches sacked in the last 2 or 3 years. 2 seasons or some shit. 3 seasons. Jesus. Incredible. Okay, now to the NRL Rich List. As I said, guys, I've been assured that these numbers are correct. And so we'll just work off that. Now, we're not going to go into specific. We might speak about like 1 or 2 specifically, the amount that they've been said to be on. But what I wanted to do is I wanted to get who has the most players in the top 100. So like 1 to 16, who has the most players, all the way to who has the least players in the top 100. So, for example, Dragons are number 1. The Dragons have 10 players in the top 100. Now, we were talking last week about I cannot understand how the Dragons haven't recruited anyone. I think this answers our question.
It all makes sense now.
It makes sense why they've been unable to recruit anyone. They got their cap is like completely squeezed. Completely squeezed.
Well, like, have a look at this list. I think the number 100 is at 500K. So if they were 10 guys on absolute minimum, there's 5 million.
Yep.
Which it's not for those playing at home.
Yeah. Yep. It's mate, it's absolutely amazing
and then you consider Ben Hunt's 3rd on the list at 1.1 million.
Yep.
That is a lot of money tied up in 10 players.
Mate, it's really, really interesting. Unfortunately, you'd have to say that outside of Benny Hunt, the players that are getting paid that up are underperforming. And so you're not getting your bang for buck. Whereas, second on the list is Eels, which right now, the inconsistency of it, Eels have 8. You'd have to say they're probably not delivering. Roosters, they've begun to deliver. Rabbitohs, you'd probably say they're definitely delivering. Storm, they're still sitting top 4. Panthers, 7. I'll read the list out. So it goes, this is 1 to 16, 1 being having the most players in the top 100, 16 being having the least. Dragons, 10. Eels, 8 players. Roosters, 8 players. Rabbitohs, 7 players. Storm, 7 players, but that's including Nofawaluma. If you took him out, you'd have 6. Panthers, 7. Bulldogs, 7, which is interesting. Broncos, 6, which I think is a pretty good spot to be sitting with where they're at. Sharks, 6. I think that's an incredible spot for Sharkies to be sitting. Titans, 6. That's scary. Raiders, 6. Cowboys, 6. Knights, 6. Manly, 4. Warriors, 4. And Tigers, 4, not including Nofawaluma. It's weird because do you feel that, like, for example, Tigers and Warriors being at the bottom and also essentially being at the bottom of the table, are they not being risky enough and throwing enough big money at the big players?
Yeah, potentially. I think it also comes down. I had a look through it yesterday and sort of, I think, it's hard to get all this data, but it is interesting as we go through to take the context of what positions these guys play as well. Like, I was shocked at how many in the top 50 are front row forwards. Like that really surprised me.
Yeah.
What do you mean? Like you?
I expected them to be high for sure.
Yeah, okay. I expected there to be that many that are high, but I personally wouldn't build a team like that.
Yeah.
Same as centers, as Tim said before. So I shouldn't say I was surprised. It's just not how I would go about it. But in saying that, when you've got a premier front row in front of you and you want to give him 500, he wants 700.
Yeah, I see the way it used when I was there. It was basically like your halves, your 9. One actually didn't used to be hectic. Your fullback didn't used to be anywhere near as hectic as it is today. And then it was your front row.
Yeah, like
centre and winger were literally down the bottom. And so I can understand why front rowers, because it's so hard to find a fucking good front row, and they're so important to go forward.
Whereas now in the modern game, like fullbacks are almost as important as your 7 and 6, realistically.
Seriously. So it's interesting. Like, do you admonish the Warriors and Tigers for saying maybe you need to be a bit more aggressive in the market, or is it they have been aggressive, they've just been unable to land people? It's a tough one.
I think it's more so they're unable to land people.
I'll be unable to land. It's going to be interesting to see where Tigers sit on this list next year. With a couple of recruits they've got. I think really good signs for Broncos and Sharks to be sitting at the 6 mark with so much growth left. But yeah, Dragons is the interesting one. 10 up at the top by themselves. So they've essentially got 10 starters probably on massive coin, and they're coming 10 or 11. Wow. Is it? Are you concerned for Dragons seeing that?
Yeah, well, I mean, I was concerned 2.5 weeks ago. I think we all were about this. Now, this is just evidence why we should be concerned to me. And like you go through that list, and as I said before, it's not like they're all on 500 either.
So does this prove that the Dragons are in fact not doing the money ball approach, as we've said all year, or as everyone's said all year?
Yeah, I guess so.
And I mean, like, just talking off the top of my head, like your Ramones and stuff weren't on this list, were they?
No.
Like, it's not even the young guns that they're just trying to sew up, so they're paying them overs to keep them there. It's all the other guys.
Yeah.
It's the other guys that when they get injured, they bring the next guy in, and I'm like...
Maybe it's the money ball approach in the sense that you've got guys that used to be worth, like a prime Josh Maguire that used to be worth 800K, he's gotten for 500K. And so I think that might be more the money ball approach that was getting thrown around. That he's got these like veterans that have gone down a bit in value that potentially could add a bunch. If they can find their form again, they can add a bunch of value. But yeah, the Dragons have got to sort that cup out. And they got to, holy, 10. Anyway, massive congratulations to Nathan Cleary too. 1.3 million. If any man deserves it, it's that bloke.
Mate, congratulations to all the blokes on this list. How bloody
good.
Point.
Bloody oath. Get your money, boys. So if you want to check that out, it's the Daily Telegraph, pretty sure. You go there, you can see the top 100 that I'm assured is accurate, or at least as close to accurate as you're going to get. What do you got, Matty?
Just breaking news, the Warriors have released a statement. Their Roger Skuivasha Sheck fan is not banned for life.
Oh, thank God. I was going to talk about that. What an absolute joke. And talk about the Streisand effect. Like, because you went and told him he had a lifetime ban, you made a massive deal. Whereas if you don't kick him out and he does his little thing, yeah, we have a laugh. No one's talking about it. No one gives a shit about it. A bloke did a shoey. We've seen it a million times. Good on him. It's funny. Who cares? But the fact that because they made a deal out of it, it's the Streisand effect. It fucking made it way bigger. So congratulations to Roger Schuey-Vasicek or Schuey-Vasicek.
Just on the rich list, and interesting seeing those numbers, Kempy. I'd had a look, obviously, at the individual wages coming out, but I hadn't sort of considered it from the perspective that you've just thrown at us. And as like a super coach rugby league nerd who I love roster management and all these sorts of things, and the balance of squads, really just to take some words off my old mate on the left, coming off the dome, but like you can take so many. Every squad and the way they've gone about their roster can be approached in so many different ways. And I look at Manly, for example, who in recent years have been very, what I suppose call a top-ended roster where they just throw a lot of their money at, Tom Trbojevic, Daly Cherry-Evans, Jake Trbojevic, these guys in key positions. And that can be such... It's a high risk, high reward approach to putting your roster together, because you've got like 3 to 4 absolute stars in key positions that can be match winners and can take you to a premiership. We saw them, get on the verge of it last season. They've looked good at times this season, but when you're also investing your money in all those players, if one or even 2 of them go down, like we've seen with Tommy Turbo this year, you can be stuffed.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
you're not balancing yourself out very well. Your depth becomes a massive issue. And then looking at Parramatta, they're another one who surprised me with 8 players on the list, in that we've sort of said they're one of the most well-rounded rosters in the NRL. Their depth at the club is incredible. I thought, due to how good their depth has been and their 1 to 17 is exceptional, that maybe they wouldn't have been as high on this list. But it's a very fascinating list and a fascinating way of looking at it, the way it's been put together.
Yeah, it just shows how much of a sweet spot there is to win a comp. Like you look at the Penrith Panthers, with 7 players there, incredible considering they've got number 1.
Well, what's interesting is that, let's say, I think most people would make the argument, Broncos and Sharks and Cowboys are probably one big recruit away from winning a comp. And they're sitting on 6, and Storm and Panthers are sitting on 7. So, it probably shows you that 7 number is right about where you want to be. Because you don't want to be down the bottom, because then you fucking...
And isn't it also, we look at the Eels and the Roosters, all I felt like I've said for the last few weeks is it's almost like they've got just one too many stars to make it all sort of gel. It's interesting, that's obviously not a direct reflection of that, and Parramatta's the same. I look at their team and just go, 1 to 17, it's unreal, it's so good.
Yeah.
I don't think they can win a comp.
Yeah.
On the flip side, I would argue that I'd love to see this list for the last 20 years and see where the most successful teams have come from, but we say the Melbourne Storm, and again, I know it's a bit of an outlier because of how good their spine was, but talking about top-heavy rosters where they just went in on your Cronks, Munster at the back end, but like Cronk, Smithy, Slater. Now, them guys had incredible longevity in the NRL. Like Smithy hardly missed a game, Cronk hardly missed a game, Slater, towards probably more the back end of his career, started missing a few, but had a pretty good run as well in these key positions. So I wonder during those years, would they have had 4 and 5 in this top 100 because they were so heavily invested in them guys? Maybe not, but they would have been on huge money. So I would imagine they would have had to have been.
Yeah, it's interesting.
So it's not to say that you can't win it with only 4 or 5 in this top 100. And also being in the top 100, having numerous is a show of your success. We look at the clubs there, Eels, Roosters, Rabbitohs, Storm, Panthers, all up top, the most successful clubs. So as I said, you could look at it a million different ways, but it's fun to dissect.
What's a minimal contract in the NRL?
I think it's 125.
Be interesting to see
how 110
many,
or 125.
Yeah, something around there.
Chops and changes a little bit, but
be interesting to see the teams, how many players they had from 500k to 200k.
Yeah,
around that mark to see.
Well, it's interesting because so that means that Tigers have, if you went the underneath 500k, if you went 500 to 400k, Tigers probably have the most there. Because they've got the least in the above that.
They'd have to.
They'd have to, because otherwise, how are they spending their money?
On this list, who's the Tigers' highest paid?
Luke Brooks.
Oh, of course, he's in the top 10, right? Yeah, okay.
But I mean, it had Hastings on 700k.
Yeah, but I don't reckon he'd be. No, he was lower. He was 5.
Oh, he's 5. Okay.
Yeah. But obviously, his contract at the moment is an opportunity to come back.
No, but I actually think that might be overs. As in, like, he's worth that for sure. But, like, he was coming back from the Super League for an opportunity. 500K is a great contract, and he's probably not getting paid that much more at Super League. So that's actually a bargain buy. It's funny.
It's interesting that of those 4 players that are on the list, Joe Offengawi, they're all at the very bottom end of it, aside from Brooks, who's right up top. Offengawi, 550, Noffa, 510, and then Hastings 500. So they're not even the top end of it.
So they just must be like bang on, like most of their squad must be between 400 and 500K. And I guess, and that's the argument for, maybe it's they couldn't recruit or whatever, but it's like, that's the argument for you're actually paying for an average list instead of going, you know what? Let's go balls to the wall. Because, like, for example, no one in there, I know Brooks is on 960, but, like, they could afford to go and pay someone 1.3 right now, a superstar.
In saying that, just off the top of my head, and I don't know if there's more, they're obviously paying David Nofaluma to beat the Melbourne Storm. They're paying Mozambique to beat the St George Illawarra Dragons. I
don't think they'd be paying Nofaluma. I think Storm would be paying the rest of the year.
They're paying Moses. Is there anyone else the Tigers would be chipping in for other contracts there? It says the Tigers are tipping in about half of Mbai's salary, and that's 900K. So you could almost chuck in another one there for Mozambique, realistically.
Yeah, wow.
And next season, I think you'll find for the Tigers, IPAP, provided he gets to the Tigers, he'll be on it.
So he's confirmed that he's going.
He has?
Yep.
Awesome.
Yep.
Great news for
Great
them.
news,
Stoked.
yeah, for sure.
IPAP, Coruscant as well. And then Adam Dewey, I'd be surprised if he didn't end up on 500 plus by next season. So their 4 next season could flip to, along with Brooks and Hastings, depending how that half scenario works out, all of a sudden could have 7 players on this list. It can change pretty quick.
See, what I don't get is, like, it says Moses is on 950. So, like, the argument around him being $1 million player is irrelevant. Like he wants $1 million. Like, that's clearly not true because he's already essentially on it. Do you think 50 grand is going to stop Mitchell Moses from saying? So, yeah. So really, really interesting, guys. It'd be as you said to me, it'd be really interesting to look at, like, the last 5 to 10 years or even 20 years and see what is the sweet spot. Do you want 7 to 8 players in the top 100 of the salary cap, or do you want to land around the 6 or 5 to 6? It'd be real interesting. Now onto the next bit of news. Just wait a sec. Sorry, guys. Just getting through this 100 list. Team of the week. Now, I had Munster at fullback, Suoliti at 2, Olam at 3, Manu at 4, Oates at 5. Corey Oates, he was so good, man. Fuck, he was good the other day. Then I had Amon at 6, SJ at 7. I just thought that I just was happy for him to be able to do what he did on the weekend. I had Nelson Asafa Solomona at 8. I had I had I've got Verrills, Cook or Grant. I'm not really sure. Which one do you guys go?
Verrills.
Yeah, Verrills. I had Hargreaves at 10, Fafita at 11, Colin Matangi at 12, Cam Murray at 13, McGuinness at 14, Adam Fanor Blake, and I had probably Latrell at 16, Latrell or Brimo, and I had Boyd at 17. What did you guys say?
Mine's actually pretty similar to yours. I had Latrell at fullback, Cobbo and Suoliti on the wings. I had Ramian and Olam in the centres. 6, I went with Amon. How good was that to finally see him?
Oh, fuck.
Devastated they lost for him. I know
he could have scored 6.
But, hey, mate, he was incredible. 7, I went Nico Hines. Just thought he had his fingerprints over everything for the Sharkies. AFB, Lodge up front. Sam Verrills at 9. Back rowers, I went a little bit different to you. I thought Beau Fermor was great for the Gold Coast Titans. I chucked him in there, and then I had Hudson Young from the Raiders. Cam Murray picks himself at 13. Fuck, how good would it obviously...
Actually, I would have had Cheese on the bench. Sorry.
Yeah. I had Latrell, Cotter, Radley, and Brandon Smith Cheese. I thought Radley's game on the weekend was unreal. If Radley can get back to his best, and we've got Murray, Yo, and him going head to head in this final series, it'd be great.
There's a few people that disagree with me in regards to Radley's ball playing. Like, do you agree he has the best ball playing for a lock in the comp, or am I fucking crazy?
I think he does. I think he hasn't shown it over the last 2 years, though. And I think that's
2 years? Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Compared to an Isaiah Yo, I think so, yeah.
I thought about it all weekend because of how good Cam Murray was, how good his ball playing's been. But Isaiah Yo's still number one. I think Radley's two. And then Cam's probably three.
Wow.
Isaiah Yo's ball playing's unbelievable.
It's really good. I just think Victor Radley's got the best ball playing.
Radley's probably got the better, killer touch, like we saw on the weekend, that lofted ball to score a try. Yo's not really going to pull that one out, but just his service as the link man is next level.
He never makes a mistake, Isaiah Yo.
So you'd have Isaiah Yo at one as well?
Now I would, and it kills me because I'm the biggest Radley fan in the world. But yeah.
Matty, who do you have?
I mean, I'm so biased. I love Murray, but if I took him out...
Just ball playing. Not the whole... We're not talking about the whole thing, just the ball playing.
I'd probably go Yo for... he's like... As you said, probably everything's an 8 out of 10, does it consistently. Radley can find the ground a few times, but his ceiling is probably the highest.
Interesting. I thought it was a fucking sure thing.
I think if Radley can put together a season of football where he's not injured and he's not suspended, I think he could rocket straight back to number one for me and very quickly.
To be clear, guys, we're just talking specifically about their ability to ball play, not about the whole package. I would say right now, form-wise, Murray is probably the best. I would say right now, who is the best 30 in the comp? It's Isaiah Yo. Actually, probably Radley would be a little bit further down because I just think he's struggled a bit with form. On the weekend, he was outstanding. That's interesting.
I reckon locks were the best position on the weekend. You had Murray, you had McGuinness,
Curran.
you had Cheese, you had Curran. They all just killed it. Radley.
Jack Bird went hard
Jack Bird.
for the Dragons.
Wow, that's interesting.
I think it's fair to say that Radley's got the highest ceiling as far as ball playing. I would never argue with that.
Yep.
But just the consistency that Isaiah Yo's done it for the last 2 years on the biggest stages, I can't ignore him.
Yeah, okay. That's cool. That's cool. Now let's get to the game reviews.
You got a team for us?
Oh, sorry, mate. Fucking hell.
Brushed.
Here comes the Canberra 1 to 17.
I know where I stand. Savage, Rapana, Latrell Mitchell, wingers Cobbo and Suali'i, centres Olam and Ramian, halves Amon and Sean Johnson. Love putting Sean Johnson in there. He was awesome on the weekend. Props, Tohu Harris and Totola. Sammy Verrills at 9. Back rows, Fermor and Kenny Bromwich. Lock was Victor Radley. Bench, Cam Murray, Adam Elliott, Brandon Smith and Nico Hines.
Mate. Not a bad side. No Raiders. Was there any Raiders?
Adam Elliott got in there for me. I couldn't pick Hudson Young for an 8th straight week, so I had to change it up a little bit.
Did you guys not think Munster was at 1, or you knew he was at 1 and you chose Latrell anyway?
I chose Latrell, yeah.
Yeah, okay. I thought Munster was fucking unbelievable.
It was good. That's the hard thing about these team of the weeks.
Latrell was good though,
especially in a position like if there's 3 or 4 gun back rowers, you can squeeze them in, but he fits so many ones in there.
I mean, Trell was unbelievable as well. So it's just sometimes there's the fullbacks especially, they play so fucking good, and it's just hard to get them into your side. But you could interchange Munster and Latrell. I just thought the fact that Melbourne went to Penrith and did what they did with the Mad Dog Munster fucking pulling the strings, but then the Rabbitohs going to fucking the power and doing what they did. Anyway, let's get into it. Storm have done it again. Fucking hell. Every time. All year, all fucking year, we've been saying, nah, they'll prove us wrong. They're sweet. They'll come back. And then the 1 week where we go, well, I won't speak for you guys, but for me, I was like, you know what? I think it might be a bit of a quiet year for the rest of the year for the Storm. They may still pull it out, and then they come out. And if you ever wanted to see there's a new Melbourne Storm in town in regards to their attacking flair over the last few years. And Cam Smith actually said that after they lost that Cronulla Sharks grand final, they went back, him and Bellyache and Billy and that went back and said, we need to change our whole game. We need to change everything, which is crazy. Think about that. You lose a grand final and your standards are so high.
On the last play,
your standards are so high, you go, we need to change our whole game. And that's when they became the new style of Storm we're seeing that break records or whatever. But if you ever wanted to see a traditional Storm victory, what the Storm is known for, what it was built on, what this incredible organisation was built on, go and watch Panthers v the Storm on the weekend. It was gritty, it was tough, it was down in the dirt, it was everything a Storm performance is that we come to love and know. And on top of all that, with all the chat before about techniques, this, that, and the next thing, Storm said it was almost the worst thing you could do to a Storm team, because Storm went, oh, you're going to question, our techniques and whatever. We're going to hold you to zero. And that's what they did. Absolutely incredible. They continue to impress us as an organisation. I will be clear, though. I'm still not 100% convinced that the Storm are back. But I tell you what, they took a massive step towards being back. And the growing animosity between these two clubs, I think it just got even bigger.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm not 100% convinced the Storm are back. I think they've got 3 really tough games coming their way. I think they've got the Broncos this week at Suncorp. Then they go the Roosters, and then they finish with Paris. So I'm very keen to watch them over the next few weeks. Just on what you said there, I wish the NRL would play this game round 1. It feels like the last 3 years, whenever this game comes, it's just injuries galore. I feel like I haven't got to see a proper Penrith-Melbourne Storm
for a while,
since the grand final, essentially, or since the finals last year. I thought Melbourne Storm's cover defence.
Mate, that's the best defence I've seen all year.
Do you remember 2 weeks ago we were sitting there watching the left winger, I can't remember who it was, and he was backtracking 1.5 metres into his in-goal.
He slid into his in-goal.
Like, I was just sitting there going, I have never seen that from them before. The defence they came out with the other night was sensational. And, obviously Penrith, they're missing troops and whatnot. I think Penrith still would have scored 3 to 5 tries against any other team. And I understand, like, people are like, oh, they looked like, they had no direction and the halves, this, that, and the next thing. Like, to a degree, yes, but it was the Storm's defence that held it. There were a million times where an incredible play was done by Appy or Isaiah Yeo that the Storm just held them up before the line. Like, yeah, I don't subscribe to the idea that Penrith were just terrible and the Storm just got lucky. There was 2 or 3 times where I thought Brian Toto was going to score. There was a couple of times where I thought Isaac Tunga was going to go through. Like, there were so many opportunities. Melbourne it was that old Melbourne Storm where you go, where are these bodies coming from?
Yeah.
Where are they all just appearing from? So, yeah, I'm with you. I'm not convinced they're 100% back, but it's a good little warning signal to send out.
They had the ball 70% in Storm's end. 70% of the ball was in Storm's end, and they managed to hold them to 0. An incredible performance. I forgot what I was going to say. Timmy, what do you reckon?
Yeah, I think Craig Bellamy deserves a lot of credit for his team decisions for the 17 that he ran out for this one. We've been probably a little bit critical at times this season, particularly in the last month or so with Melbourne, that their packs just lacked a bit of mobility, and they've picked some obviously very good players in that pack, like starting with like Josh King and a few other big boys, but it's been too immobile. Finally, brought Brandon Smith, who obviously had that suspension a few weeks back, but into the starting team. Tui Kamikamitho, who I think's been excellent in the last couple of rounds. They're two that I think immediately bit more agility in and around the ruck, particularly with Brandon Smith playing 54 minutes. That made an enormous difference. He avoided the temptation to put Cam Munster back into the halves, despite Jerome Hughes being out this week. Could have easily put Meaney back to fullback. Yep. It made sense. No one would have criticised it, whatever. He said, nah, Munster was unreal at fullback last week. I'm going to stick with that and go with Meaney and Johns in the halves. Yep. Big decision, and it paid off, obviously, big time. And the other one there, which I may be wrong with, but I was surprised when Nofaluma and Coates came back together last week, obviously Nof with his first game at the club. They played on different edges to what they normally do. Coates ran out on the right with... Right?
Yeah, with Noffa.
With Noffa on the left. Now, Noffa played nearly all his time at the Tigers on the right wing, and then Coates spent a lot of his time on the left. So I switched them around, and my theory to that one is just that, look, Coates isn't the best defender in the NRL, but I think his reads are decent enough. Physically maybe not the best at times, falls off the odd tackle, but Noffa's read isn't fantastic in defence. We've seen that for a few years now. Yep. He swapped them edges for when Coates came back onto that Storm right edge, which has been really, really poor defensively this season, and I think that shored that up a fair bit. So I think Bellyache got his decisions 100% right with that. You now add Jerome Hughes back into this team. hopefully this week, but if not this week, it'll probably be the following week. Looking all right.
Just on that, well, Craig Bellamy did too, playing Nass out on the edge. Imagine being Sean O'Sullivan and showing up, and then fucking you're expecting to give away 20 kilos to a back rower, and all of a sudden you're giving away 40 to Nelson.
Nelson is honestly probably the best game I've ever seen Nelson play. He was amazing.
And they also put him on kick out and did a wonderful job on him. How are them two boys colliding?
Mate, seriously. I think it is really interesting. I know you're not convinced, Guru, but I think there is a bit of a blueprint being built on how to handle the Penrith forward pack. And it's kicking early. Kicking early, you turn them around, and then when you're coming out of your end, a lot of side-to-side football. I think the Melbourne Storm identified that. They identified it from New South Wales game, Queensland versus New South Wales. I think they identified it. Cronulla did the similar situation. I know Cronulla ended up losing, but the first 20, Cronulla were just kicking early, turning them around. And like in the first half, Melbourne Storm kicked for 100 more metres than the Penrith Panthers did. And I think that there may be a little bit of a blueprint being built on, because when the Penrith Panthers get in their rhythm, I'm not sure if you guys agree, but I'd assume you would, they almost look like they're impossible to beat. Like you're almost sitting there going, how are they getting off the line so quickly every single set?
They're like quicksand. When you just start to lose it, you're gone.
Yeah.
There's no way to
strangle
recover
you.
yourself.
They'll just strangle you. And so I think, again, now, Penrith will probably, combat this, they'll find a way to fix this. But I do think there is something to be said. If you're going to play the Penrith Panthers, you spend the first half kicking on tackle 4 minimum every set and just kick chasing to upset the rhythm, to get their forwards to have to chase back, come back out, and also so their outside backs aren't there in time. So it's going to be interesting to see if we see clubs begin to look at the Queensland versus New South Wales game 3, or even game 1 and 3, and start to go, look, maybe we could take a few things from that. Dummy half kicks. I think Harry Grant kicked the most I've seen him probably ever kick. I look at his meters and like Harry Grant is not a known kicker. We all know that. Harry Grant, where is it? 167 kick meters. Like I'd have to go back and look, but he had 4 kicks. I can't remember a last time.
He doesn't normally kick.
He doesn't normally kick, and it's actually something that he's needed to work on in his game. And I know Smithy loves to be able to kick out a hooker because it just upsets rhythm. And also they have to now constantly think, is he going to kick? Look at Benny Hunt out of dummy half on the weekend with that 20-40.
So Harry Grant this whole season hasn't kicked over 100 metres, but in the last 2 weeks, 174 against the Titans and 168 against the Panthers.
I'm a genius.
Yeah, and obviously without his halves there as well, had to step up and kick a lot more. So
Munster still kicked a lot though. He kicked
Munster
for 4.
did nearly all their kicking despite playing fullback.
Yeah, he kicked for 489 metres, 15 kicks. Cooper Johns, 8, 234 metres. So it is interesting. Whereas you look at the Panthers, essentially Sean O'Sullivan kicked by himself. Now Salmon had 79 metres and Sullivan had 18 kicks for 385 metres. So you look at that, like it's not even close kicking metres. And I just think that may be a way, if you look at the kick meters, like you look at every other stat. So Penrith Panthers had more run meters, they had more runs, they had more post contact, they had way less line breaks, which is really interesting. They had less tackle breaks, but more kick return meters. So it's what a game by the Storm. What a game by the Storm. The interesting thing now is though, is like Munster. I know when Pappy comes back, you put Pappy back there. But far out, he's good back there. He's so good back there.
He has to play there for the rest of this year.
Yeah,
I know we floated a couple of weeks ago, and I stand by it. I think if they're going to win this comp, they're going to need something different. They've got injuries, so they've got to take some punts. And once again, if I'm playing the Melbourne Storm and Cam Munster's named at 6, I go, fucking beautiful. He's going to be on that edge. He's going to be sitting there. I know he can still break me open, but I know what to expect. When he's at fullback, it's a fucking nightmare.
Fuck, he is a nightmare.
Yeah. And on that, like as you said, kicking early, obviously they're missing their fullback and one of their wingers, but Origin and against the Sharks, it's one of those things. If that is the way to beat them, have these teams revealed it too early?
Yeah, it's a good point. That's a good point. Really good point. Because Penrith will have an answer for it. Like, they're not just a one-trick pony. They'll have an answer for it. I wonder what the answer is, though. Do they also kick early? And it's just a race for fitness. Whoever can go the longest with kicking early and kick chasing will get the win.
It reminds me. I'll never forget. After the Roosters Melbourne, was that 2018 grand final? I think it was. They spoke to, and Roosters just gave it to them in that game. They were all over them. And I remember Victor Radley did an interview after, and they said, "Oh, last time you played them, this happened." And he sort of said, "We knew how to beat them then, but we couldn't show them we knew how to beat them. We had to wait until now."
Wow, that's fucking so hectic. It's so hectic. So yeah, Storm. What a stamp on the organisation. Like this, just a reminder of it is not an accident. This club has been dominant for fucking 20 years. It's not an accident. They are an incredible club to go to Penrith. And, there are going to be some people, and it may be Panthers fans, it may not be, that are going to go, well, they were missing Cleary, Luai, Fisher-Harris, Edwards, Kickow. But, the Storm was still missing Hughes, Pappy, Walsh, which are key players in their side. So
when Bellamy came out a few weeks ago and said, "I'm not sure if we can turn this around, we're running out of answers," spare me, mate. He knew exactly that they were capable of doing this to Penrith.
Yeah, really, really impressive. I did not see this coming. I did not, especially the zero. So really good. Again, I'm not 100% convinced that the Storm are back. No, I don't. But I do think that maybe Bellamy has identified, like maybe we need to go a little bit back to that real gritty style of rugby league to get the job done.
Yeah, and once again, just builds the narrative of Dylan Edwards, doesn't it?
Oh, mate, he's so
They
fucking
just lose
valuable.
every time he doesn't play.
Every time he doesn't play, it's like Cam Murray for the Rabbitohs. Seriously, he just gets through so much work for them. Let's get to the Penrith Panthers. I thought Isaiah Yeo and Api Koroisau were fantastic. I thought Api Koroisau was almost the difference. He was like really, especially in that first half when they were under the pump a bit, every time he got the ball, he would have a half break or he'd put someone in a hole. I don't think this is worrying signs at all for Penrith. Like, although I do think they still had a good enough side to beat the Melbourne Storm, and although I do feel like that they didn't play their best, you cannot hide from the fact that they were missing... not Kickow, they weren't missing Kickow, were they?
No, he played.
Fisher-Harris, sorry. Yep. Edwards, Luai, Cleary.
May.
And May. May I can cop a little bit because, he's a rookie, so he's
still unreal coming out of his
still,
own
he
hands,
is, but like if you're leaning on the fact that your wing is gone, it's like, fuck.
Oh, yeah, but you're compounding that with the best front rower in rugby league, the best player in rugby league, premiership winning 5'8". Like, it adds. I understand the argument, and I had a post the other day where I said, Penrith missing all these guys. Yeah, but Melbourne are too. I get it, but Melbourne aren't getting the vast majority of those guys back.
Aren't or are?
They aren't. They'll get Jerome Hughes, they'll get Felice Kafusi. For me, though, losing Nath, Jerome, Fisher-Harris, tailor-made Dylan Edwards. I think
Christian,
those...
I don't know. Christian Welsh is like a...
But Christian Welsh isn't coming back. So as far as this finals race goes this year, they're not getting him back.
But they still aren't playing with him.
Yeah, no, I know that. But in order for Melbourne to win this comp, they're going to have to beat this side again.
Yeah, I think we're more... Well, I don't know about them, but I'm speaking this game specifically, like nothing before, nothing after, of like best 17 on the field. I think it was relatively even for players out.
Okay.
Like, because you've got Korfusi, Welsh, Luai, Pappy, who else?
In a vacuum of this game, yes, I agree with you. But I just think long term, which was sort of my point during the week, that like this Penrith side is going to be completely different in 3 or 4 weeks' time.
Oh, for sure. Like that's the reason why they're favourites. Like I think most people would agree that they're favourites to win the comp. I just think that the game on the weekend, if you really wanted to like go through it, you could probably make a case for Penrith missing maybe one extra player. So you've got May, you've got Luai, you've got Cleary, you've got Fisher-Harris.
And Edwards.
And then they had Welsh, Pappy, Hughes, Kofusi.
Remus.
So it's pretty even. Probably even. So that's where I feel like if you're a Penrith fan and you're just saying, oh, we had all these players out, that's why we lost, I actually think that it was relatively even in regards to players being out, and it was just a great match from the Storm. It was a great match from the Storm. In saying all of that, I don't think Penrith have anything to worry about. We're talking about they only had 16 points like put on them by a Storm that, the Storm did give them quite a few errors in key moments to give them a chance to score. But like if 16-0 to the Storm is devastating. That shows you how high their standards are now, the Penrith Panthers.
I think Ivan Cleary would have been stoked.
They needed a loss like this for sure.
It's a good little...
It's a great loss because it makes it, the fact they didn't score a try, they're at 0, and I don't know, were you saying you could go for a run, or was it anyway? We're talking about going for a run, as in like going not for a run, on a run. I think they needed to lose a match, and I think they needed to feel a bit of pain to bounce to go forward. Now I know they'd lost to the Eels, but I actually don't think, in the grand scheme of things, this is a bad thing for the Panthers.
Yeah, that was me, and that was before the injury to the halves. I honestly thought they'd be okay, but now that it's here, I don't mind it.
Yeah, it really isn't. Like, I think that I almost would place my house on it. I didn't even own a house, but if I did, I would place a house on it that the Penrith Panthers boys are fucking fuming with that loss. Timmy, what do you think about the Penrith Panthers?
Yeah, I wouldn't be too concerned, mate. As you said, you boys covered it pretty well, but any team missing their 1, 6 and 7, the big boy James Fisher-Harris out up front. The one thing I will say is that we know so many games of football are won and lost in the middle of the field. That's where it starts. The pack was full strength outside of Fisher-Harris, and they were dominated by Melbourne in this one. But then you already spoke about, missing Taylor May on the wing there as well, Dylan Edwards. For a game plan that's revolves so much around the yardage of your back three, they're missing, replaced with Taruva and Charlie Staines, who both ran for nearly 200 metres, but a lot of that was just dirty carries coming out of their end to like a relentless line speed from Melbourne. To be honest, I wouldn't be concerned at all if I was If they know these players are all coming back, yeah.
Mate,
fine.
I was... I know he had an error or two, but I thought Taruva was fantastic. Nearly 200 metres in your debut game, 6 tackle breaks, which is equal most of anyone. Taruva's going to be something special. I'm really keen to see where he ends up, because he can't sit in reserve grade for much longer. He cannot sit in reserve grade for much longer. Do you think they keep Taruva?
I think it more so comes down to if they keep Stephen Crichton or not.
And what do you think they might bank on? Taylor, who would they play centre then, you reckon?
Probably Taruva. If
Do you reckon he's a
Stephen
centre?
Crichton go. Well, he's been playing a lot of centre down in Cup the last few weeks.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
That's
which
interesting.
has surprised me. Well,
Because he's a fullback, isn't he?
yeah, well, the last few years when I've seen him play, he's always been a fullback. He's always been incredibly good there, but he has
That's
been jumping in
interesting.
at centre and stuff.
That is
From
interesting.
what I've seen, I'm pretty confident on that. Yeah.
That is really, really interesting. Because players, when they play New South Wales Cup, it's not just like willy-nilly. Like the head coach of the NRL will often send messages down to the Q Cup coach or the New South Wales Cup coach and say, I need this rookie to play in this position because as a club, this is where we're a bit light. Wow, that's interesting.
Especially at the Panthers. Like Ivan Cleary rings them and says,
for
hey,
sure.
you need to rest these 9 dudes. I need them next week. So it very much so works that way.
So do you think Ivan Cleary sat there going, okay, we know Dylan Edwards is fucking tough as nail. He's going to play a lot of games of footy. But we also know Stephen Crichton can jump in and play fullback. So let's put Taruva at centre because we at least have one fullback in front of him, which is Crichton. Whereas right now, they probably have, I don't know of any backup centres they have outside maybe Jennings. Is Jennings still there? No, he's not still there.
He's leaving next year.
No, he's leaving next year.
Yeah. Sorry, so just for context, his last 6 games in New South Wales Cup, he's played centre, fullback, centre, wing, centre.
That's interesting. Do you reckon that, maybe we're reading way too far into it, but do you reckon that is
But for the first
preparation?
10 weeks, he was the fullback.
So do you reckon that is that they're getting the feeling that maybe Critter...
Maybe. Ooh. It might just be also coverage for, if there are any injuries.
Or getting him ready for first grade, like saying, well, we might need you on the wing. That's interesting. Outside of that, as I said, guys, as Panthers fans, your standards are so high now that a loss 16-0 to the Storm is devastating. That's incredible. It's almost you want to see your boys pissed off. You want to see them stinging. Whereas, Penrith from 4 or 5 years ago, if they lost 16-0 to the Storm, they'd almost be like, yeah, okay. Yeah, it sucks we lost, but it's not, we didn't get towed up. And so, yeah, I don't think there's much to worry about.
Did it surprise us that Penrith went for Charlie Staines at fullback instead of Critter to start the game?
It surprised me, but I think that's because, who do they have ready to go in that centre position?
Yeah, they sort of had to. It did it to me initially as well, but the more we speak about it, they just don't have the centres, did they?
They did, and Critter he's so good in centre.
Staines has also been picked at fullback ahead of Critter at times in the last couple of years. So we've seen probably Critter more recently, but for the team setup, it made probably.
You could have picked Taruva at centre. He's obviously been playing there a bit in Reggie's. Charlie Staines on the wing. It's quite. I think they could have made it work. To be honest with you, so I thought it was interesting.
And put Staines on the wing, Taruva at centre, Crichton at fullback. But do you think that's too many rookies in your front line?
Yeah, quite possibly.
Yeah, because I do know like a lot of coaches are very reticent to go like put rookies in really important positions.
It would have also meant that he would have been defending Justin Olam,
That's
which he really wouldn't have wanted to do.
And Critter's defence on the weekend, I thought he made some really good tackles. Is there much to say? I mean, I don't think. I just think that the goal line defensive storm was just another level. Like I thought they did create opportunities. It's a really weird one because like if you took the score out of it and you just looked at stats, you'd say great win by the Panthers. Like great win. Like they got the most meters. They had outside of the line breaks, obviously. But it's not like they were just completely dominated in every asset of the rugby league game. So, yeah, there's really not. I mean, Sorensen came on and fucking ripped and teared as he always does. That's really interesting. People were a bit concerned about Liam Martin getting injured and being out for a prolonged period of time. I think Scott Sorensen on the edge there, I think he might go all right.
He doesn't want to start him. He hasn't said that, but
he goes so well off the bench.
Yeah, well, every time that they're missing their back rolls and whatnot through Origin, they'll bring in. So Chris Smith, when Kikau was out a couple of weeks ago, Smith came in and started on the edge, and Sorensen stayed on the bench. Now Smith was dropped to New South Wales Cup this week, but there's every chance he comes back in and starts on the edge again with Sorensen. It just shows how highly he thinks of Sorensen as an impact role.
It's almost like a compliment to Sorensen because you're so important to the side. But I think he might be forced to put him there. We've all sat here every week and gone, Scott Sorensen off the bench, because he might be one of the best bench players in the comp. But I would be tempted to give him an opportunity to just the next 3 or 4 weeks to see what he can do starting.
So yeah, I wouldn't be stoked about it. Luke Garner.
Yeah, that's true.
He'd be looking at going, hopefully that's my jersey next year. And if Sorensen gets an opportunity, he's going to kill it.
I think he'll go well.
Yeah.
Give him, don't just give him 1 week. Give him 3 or 4 weeks to build a combination. And in saying that, it's almost a bit unfair to put him in there because he's going to be going in there with 2 halves that are, not the main halves. So he may not get as much good ball as Luai's going to deliver to Kikau or Cleary to Martin. But yeah, again, Storm were almost playing, had everything to play for. What did Penrith really, and I know people don't like to hear this, but what did they really have to play for? They've pretty much won the comp minor premiership. They played really well last week. I did see some comments about people, having issue with the way Sean O'Sullivan and Salmon played, but I don't think they were that bad. There was a bit of direction. We're talking about 2 guys here that have barely played any NRL.
Right, Salmon hasn't played as a half in 2 years.
Yeah,
he's been training to be a back rower.
I think Kurt Falls has to come in for Salmon, and Salmon playing that bench role.
For sure.
So he's been named on the extended bench 2 weeks in a row now.
He's just come back from injury.
He is, yeah. So do we know if he played New South Wales Cup on the weekend?
Not sure.
Might have been easy. So he's got to be very close. So I wouldn't shock to see him named in the halves this week.
But for example, Sean O'Sullivan, granted, a few kicks, didn't go as well as they did last week, all that kind of stuff. He played really well the week before, but they still got themselves in a position to score tries. And what's the Sevens role? It's to lead his team around the park to get them in attacking zone. And then, the last blow wasn't there, but I don't think he was as bad as some people, I guess, Penny Panthers fans are kind of saying.
Falls played reserve grade on the weekend.
Okay, so I'd assume he'd be there. He'll take Salmon's spot next week. So all I would say with Panthers fans is just be a bit patient with Sean O'Sullivan. You have to remember he's played 5 or 6 NRL games since he's been at Penrith. Be patient. He's proven he can do it. He had 3 tries this last week. He did lead the boys around the park enough to get them in good field position. Outside of that, something I'm a bit not concerned about at all, but it made me wonder. Spencer Leniu, he hasn't really... Has he... I honestly... The impact he brings is fucking incredible off the bench. And maybe Ivan Cleary loves that, but I just don't think it doesn't seem like he's been given the next opportunity that you would assume of a guy with his talent and so young.
It almost feels like to me that Matty Eisenhuth might have jumped the queue a little bit there.
It's very similar to Scotty Sorensen in that every time they have these outs over the Origin period, he's never tempted to start Lenu. He's done it at times, but that's when there's been other injuries and Origin outs and sort of things. But just loves him in the impact role off the bench. And Eisenhuth always starts above him when available.
But the reason why I ask is like Spencer Lenu, super young, like his future is extremely bright, and I wonder whether like if you give him those runs early, it's going to help him long term.
He's played more than 33 minutes once this season. He played 41 minutes against the Knights in round 14, when from memory they rested plenty of players. The Origin contingent maybe round 14, or they back them up?
No, sorry, that was against the Tigers. They rest heaps of players.
Okay, so Knights they might have. Well, yeah, he played 41 minutes in round 14. Outside of that, hasn't played more than 33 minutes in a game.
Yeah, interesting. I mean, maybe they're just being really patient with him, because Fisher-Harris still has plenty of footy, Leota still has plenty of footy, but he's the heir apparent, I'd assume, at that club. Like he is when Fisher-Harris retires, I assume he's going to be the guy. I mean, I could be wrong, but...
I mean, the last 3 weeks he's played 14, 11, 19.
That's what I mean. It's a bit...
I hadn't really picked up on it, yeah. Wow.
And he's played 50 NRL games. So
and I'm pretty sure he was represented New South Wales, I think. Can you check? Like he is a fucking gun coming through, like the main guy.
You saw it in the finals last year, like when he came back to replace Tavita.
Tavita, yeah.
And he had huge impact in that Melbourne game. And
really interesting. Maybe he's carrying injury or...
Yeah, he played like Origin 20s and all that jazz.
Yeah. Did he play for Australia or for New Zealand? Apologies if he's not from New Zealand. As in, doesn't have heritage there. But yeah, Spencer Lenu has just been a bit... Because like last year, honestly, with the trajectory he was on last year, I was like, this guy might sneak into a Origin squad in the next 12 to 24 months.
Well, Freddie was talking about him last year, wasn't he?
Yes, he was, actually. I think he was.
Actually, he played for Samoa this year.
Okay.
And he was born in New Zealand. So...
Okay.
But grew up in Penrith. So.
Was it Leota that he was talking about, Freddie, or was it Lenu?
Leota, I reckon.
Leota, was it? Okay.
Anyway, it was just something that I've noticed over the last few weeks, him getting less and less minutes. When you think at a time when they kind of need, like Fisher-Harris being injured, you'd think he'd get quite a few minutes. But again, not a concern, just something that stood out to me that I was a bit just pondering about. Outside of that, look, To'o runs for 193 metres, Crichton 186. Like literally all their outside backs ran for more than 150 metres, which is super impressive. Super impressive. Charlie Staines, 21 runs. Taruva, 23 runs. To'o, 23 runs. Crichton, 20 runs. Tungo, 18 runs. Hasn't Tungo just like, he's a victim of his own quality? Like we're talking about a rookie here, and he plays so good every single week. We just go, oh yeah, boom, sweet. He's in his rookie year essentially. Like he played, 4 or 5 games last year? And he's come in, nailed down that spot, delivers every single week. Very rarely has he run less than 180 metres. If that was a centre at any other club, we'd be sitting there going, fuck. But because it's the Penny Panthers, we go, oh yeah, sweet.
And yeah, he played his 4 or 5 games last year. They were in the back row.
Yeah, off the bench.
On the other side of the field.
Yeah, so impressive. And he's just getting started too. So nothing to worry about, Penny Panthers fans. I just cannot wait for these guys to meet again. Ooh, it's getting real spicy between
week
them.
one of finals.
Oh, yeah. Oh, could you imagine week one of finals? Oh, shit. The chat will come out. Another thing will drop about, this ex-player thinks this, and fuck, it'll be great. I will say I would be concerned playing Penrith next week because they're going to be up for it for sure.
Ricky Shield will be free that weekend. We might fly him up, huh?
Yeah, righto. We'll see. Early days.
Oh, that hurt him. Got him right where it hurts.
I was actually going to say, as a side note, big news in the Bloke studios. New chairs and bloody hell, they're comfy, but old Matty over there constructed them. My elbow's getting an absolute dream run. Just getting a rest here. Guru over here working his ass off. Your arms are down there, mate.
I like to lean. I'm a leaner.
Oh, are these not adjustable? You must have just...
I just screwed him in. I don't know.
Yeah. Mate, I'm cruising here.
What?
What are you doing?
No, here we go. Boom.
Oh,
shit. Man, I'm relaxed as shit.
Guru, you just here.
I'm a table leaner.
You're working too hard there, mate. Enjoy the luxury.
That is luxurious, isn't it?
Isn't it?
Ooh. And it'll force me to not slouch as well.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
See how long Guru goes before he stops being proud and lifts
arrogant,
the bar like the rest
ego.
of us.
Just put your elbows down, mate.
Welcome back to the #1 sports podcast in the country.
Okay. The Warriors. Let's go on Warriors, baby. They're back. Premiership. Honestly, they could win a premiership this year. Seriously, that's how fucking... They're back. The boys are back. Mate, how good, Warriors fans. So happy for you guys. Seriously. Big win at home. SJ, vintage SA. Dummy here, dummy there. Try time, baby. Mate, the Warriors looked great. They looked great. Interesting, though. Like, did Curry end up starting or did he come off the bench early? He didn't start,
Played
did
off
he?
the bench.
Again. He did get quite a few minutes, though, 47. But look, what a win. What a win. I thought Adam Fanor-Blake was outstanding. I thought Assie's had some really good like floating bombs and that. Yeah, like what a win for the Warriors. After so much, like, I guess, disappointment, they come out and they not just get a win against the Doggies, they towel them up. What about Watani Zalesniak's intercept? Flying down the wing. Yeah, like, it's weird because, like, you watch them last week and you go, what is going on there? Then they come out this week. Tohu Harris, 234 metres, 33 tackles, only one miss. Fanor-Blake, 200 metres, 18 tackle, no misses. What a win for the Warriors. Is this... Obviously, it's not... We're not going to sit here and say, oh, the Warriors are back and, you know, this, that, and the next thing. But is this... Like, obviously, it's good signs, but can we take a lot out of this victory, or were the Bulldogs just pretty poor? Guru.
Fucking enjoy it for what it is, Warriors fans.
Yeah.
It's been a tough 2 years. Enjoy the win. I thought they played well. You know, I don't think Canterbury were fantastic, but to win in the NRL, you have to play well, regardless. So, yeah, I don't know if it changes my opinions on where the Warriors are heading as far as the next few years, but definitely a positive, a good win. Great to see it at home. You mentioned a couple of guys there. Ed Cossey. We sat here 14 weeks ago, I think it was now, when he played the Melbourne Storm, and I think Xavier Coates scored 5 tries on him. He had an absolute shocker. He was dropped, came back. I had some numbers that I posted the other day. In the first 4 games, he had 1 try and 1 line break, and he broke 3 tackles. Over the last 4 weeks since he's come back, he scored 7 tries, had 9 line breaks, and broken 10 tackles.
Crazy.
What an improvement out of nowhere.
Yeah. And it, like, just shows you that whether it's the right environment or whatever, like, he is the same bloke he was 14 weeks ago. Yeah. He's physically the same. Everything's the same. The only difference has changed is probably his confidence. And now he's outstanding for him. Outstanding. Big body, plenty of potential. Oh, man. I didn't even think he's reached close to his potential. Yeah, I agree. So good to see, because you're right. That game was like, you were sitting there going, I feel sorry for this poor bloke.
Yeah, and like, it's great to see he's turned it around, but like, honestly, I would say it was probably one of the worst performances I've seen by an individual. It was tough to watch. Like,
it was tough to watch.
His confidence was shattered after 20 minutes, and then it just got worse and worse and worse.
And like, everyone around him didn't help him because they were all playing poorly as well.
But because it was Xavier Coates marking up against him, it made him look like a fool. But yeah, good on him for going away, working on his game, and come back and doing what he's doing is great.
In such a short time too, because like usually that can decimate a season. They have to go away, have an off season, get their heads right. They come back ready to go in the preseason. He's done it in 10 weeks or so.
Warriors fans are calling it Cossey's Corner now.
Oh, mate, how good. Cossey's Corner. And he has got so much potential, seriously. Outside of that, yeah, Tohu Harris, far out. What a knock. And Adam Fanor-Blake, just reminding everyone, like, he is a premier front rower, seriously. But my man of the moment, 2 men of the moment, SJ, incredible. But Josh Curran, I just love the way he goes about his work. I love the way he goes about so much passion, gets in everything, works his ass off. Timmy, what do you think about Warriors Bulldogs?
Yeah, I mean, to state the bleedingly obvious, it's funny what a home crowd can do for you, isn't it?
Yeah. Just
to see them get up, and we saw them knock off the Tigers' first game back there, and then a good win on the weekend. Now, shouldn't be any disillusions. Like, the Bulldogs were very ordinary, but they beat them well. They looked good in attack. You mentioned the halves. SJ wound the clock back a little bit, and I thought he was fantastic. That was even before he scored that. Really wound the clock back with that try. AGL was good to watch.
Yep.
But Dejan Arce was really good. So there is a bit of life in the Warriors from that game going into next year, hopefully, well, not hopefully, with the home ground back. The one, and I don't want to take attention away from the Warriors win too much, but I've sort of been waiting a few weeks to say for the Warriors to win and get the timing right, but I think Reece Walsh is a star. Like, we know he's good. We know he's a very talented footballer, but what he's been able to do for the Warriors in a tough few seasons for them, I just think him going to Brisbane next year, we're going to see one of the next stars of the game. And again, people say, no shit, Sherlock. We watch footy, we know he's good at footy, but I think he's next level.
Yeah.
Brisbane will be so excited to have him coming. But yeah, the Warriors, the 1, 6 and 7 were so good together in this one.
Yeah.
Would be very excited for those boys on the weekend.
Yeah, Reece is going to be a big loss for him next year for sure. No doubt about that. It just shows you the power of a home game because you can just jag one every now and then. You just get it because it's a home game and the crowd gets behind you. The atmosphere is there. Whereas when you have no home games, put it this way: imagine how many games they would have jagged last year if they had 8 home games or something.
Because they weren't playing bad footy last year.
Lose by 2 here, 4 here. Sometimes the home crowd and that atmosphere is worth 12 points.
Yeah.
It really can be. It sounds a bit bizarre to say, but it's just the vibe of it and everyone getting on board and the feeling of it. And so just so good to see. And also, how good is it just to hear the drums beating? It's just Mount Smart. It's fucking great. I love it. So the problem is I would still say I think that they need to still recruit a little bit or hopefully unearth a few local juniors because I just don't know whether they're going to be competitive for the 8 next year with this squad, with the squad that they're going to have next year.
It'll be interesting to see what this COVID period, the impact it has on them and their junior development. Because obviously the team hasn't been there for 2 years or whatever. I hope it doesn't have a big impact, but it's a bit worrying.
It probably will. How can it not?
You would have to assume it will.
2.5 years of no contact with the first grade?
Yeah.
Fucking hell. It's got to have it. Think about that's 2 years of crazy talents that could have probably been poached to union.
And the other thing about it is too that during a lot of that period, the other clubs haven't stopped their scouts over there.
No.
I know the Roosters have they've got an under 16 squad over there of about 15 kids that train twice a week.
Smart.
And every club a lot of the clubs would be the same.
And that's where I feel like I bring it up a lot, so I apologise, guys, but that's where I feel like the NRL should step in and give some kind of incentive for the Warriors to just get all those players. We want to bring in another team and we want it to be in New Zealand. So why are we allowing clubs to just continue to go in and just pick all the best players out and bring it to Australia? Now, I get the argument that's why are the Warriors getting extra help and no one else isn't? But surely everyone can see it's best for the game if the Warriors are going well. We're never going to expand if they don't go well. We're never going to expand. And also, the Warriors, it's a blessing and it's a curse because they're called the New Zealand Warriors and they, above anyone else, any other team, have the added pressure of they should be playing Kiwis. It's because New Zealand Warriors represent the country. Whereas the Brisbane Broncos, does anyone care that much if we have 17 players and only 2 are from Brisbane? No one really. The Melbourne Storm, no one cares that they're not from Melbourne. It's an added pressure. Whereas New Zealand have to go, we need most of our team to be Kiwis because it's a part of the culture. It's representing the country. And so the NRL needs to step in and go, well, if you have that added pressure of the fact that you are the New Zealand Warriors and most of your team should be Kiwis, look, they could go out and just recruit anyone, but then would they lose their DNA as a club? I'm not sure. I believe the NRL should step in and go, here's extra money in regards to development. We want to build a centre of excellence, whatever it is, just to create a pathway to keep other clubs from coming in and taking all the good players.
And it makes it tough. I remember talking to Peter O'Sullivan when he was there and they had a 6-month battle with Rugby Union over there to get Eli Katoa. They finally won it and they had him and he just said, this guy, he's very talented, do this, do that. Melbourne just go...
Well, thank you. It's crazy. And in
5 years' time, we're going to be talking. Eli Katoa, I'm sure he's going to do well at Melbourne. And we're going to praise Melbourne. We're going to say all these things. But it was the Warriors that pulled him away from. Imagine trying to convince someone to move away from the All Blacks and come to the New Zealand Warriors.
100%.
He's spot on. It was also the Warriors who didn't want to play him in their 17.
For sure. But let's say it's a chicken or the egg thing because let's say, okay, put it this way: look at the New Zealand side on paper. Would you say it's as good as Australia?
Pretty bloody close.
Yeah. Would you say it's as good as Australia? How many play for the Warriors?
Didn't they have in the
Tohu.
If he makes it, like he might be
Yeah.
off the bench.
Yeah.
when we had Rep Round, the New Zealand Kiwis did not have a warrior in their team.
That's what I'm saying.
DWZ or was he?
No,
They didn't have a warrior.
Yeah.
Matty, can you deal with that? I'm sure it's
That's
right,
what I'm
though.
saying.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. So
I'm
we've got
with you boys for sure.
Yeah.
Like, give them the extra money to fund the grassroots and the development.
Because
100%.
in a perfect world, most of the Kiwi side should have New Zealand Warriors in it.
Yeah, be great.
It's not like I understand the argument of like how is it fair that the Warriors get extra funding or whatever, but it's just a bizarre world where the New Zealand national team doesn't have a single New Zealand Warriors doesn't have a single player in these. So that if there wasn't evidence that 15 other clubs aren't going into that backyard and taking their best, I don't know what is.
Melbourne had 5 that game as well.
Yeah.
So
And and then it's like after spending 2.5 years basing themselves in Australia, because the fear is obviously, as you mentioned, the pushback from other clubs saying, well, why don't we get this extra funding? But after what they've done the last 2.5 years, now's the time to do it because other clubs look very petty to come back and say, don't give it to them, like they deserve it.
Absolutely.
So do it now.
Do it now. And also the other reason you can put in there is like we're trying to put another team in New Zealand. How are we going to be able to field another team when the team already here is struggling at the bottom of the table and has been struggling for quite a while? So,
and that's the other thing. Like if you're a 16-year-old playing in New Zealand and you got the Warriors after you, or you've got one of these other teams like the Roosters, for example, they're Harold Matson SG Ball. They fly over 2 and 3 kids to play in those games.
Yeah.
And if you're one of those kids, like of course you're going to go there because then every other scout's going to see you as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just they need to do something. They need to do something, in my opinion. I just think it's unfair. It's not unfair because it's part of the game, but I do think we're in a bad spot as a game when the New Zealand side has no New Zealand Warriors players. I think that we've taken too much from New Zealand and not given enough back to them. And I granted it's an Australian competition. I get all that, but everyone talks about we want to expand, we want to grow. This is how you grow. This is how you grow. Giving pathways to players in developing areas that we want to get into. Like we're never going to be able to beat the All Blacks if we don't put money into it.
And if you refer back to the rich list, they were right at the bottom as well.
Right at the bottom. So, and but that's the thing. Like, I get the argument of like we shouldn't give them more money to be able to bring people over because that'll unbalance everything. But they should be given some kind of allowance for juniors because, as I said, they're the only club, in my opinion, that has a massive weight of we must play New Zealand players. If there was all like different culture players that come and played or whatever, people the fans I would feel wouldn't feel represented by who they are. It's like, let's just say a team was called the Australian Titans or something, and let's say they were called the Australian Titans, and 15 were Kiwis and 2 were Australians. As Aussies, we'd be sitting there going, "Fuck, hang on a sec, like that doesn't represent Australia." Anyway, so. That's my thoughts, guys. Could be wrong. I just think as a game we need to look into something like that. Not extra money for salary cap, but I just mean extra money for development to combat the fact that all their best players get taken. Plus, not only do they get taken by the NRL, they get taken by the All Blacks as well.
Yeah. There's always the obviously next year we're gonna have an uneven amount of teams, and there's the 18th team thrown around to come in. New Zealand's always thrown up. That'd do the Warriors in, I think.
But I think it's almost like not a certainty, but it's a pretty sure thing they go in New Zealand.
Fuck, imagine if you were the Warriors though, just going,
we're fucked.
We're already competing with all of you that send your scouts over here.
And the All
Blacks.
Blacks.
How the hell are we going to compete with another side?
Yeah. And the All Blacks. They're competing with one of the most well-known teams in sport, period. Like, they need some help, in my opinion. They really do. So, great win from the Warriors. Great win. Now on to the Doggies. I reckon Doggies fans should be pretty disappointed with this. They've made so much progress over the last few weeks, so much progress, and they come out and get absolutely put to the sword by a Warriors side that, it wasn't like the Warriors side was breathtaking or anything. The Doggies just didn't turn up, unfortunately. Look, is it panic stations? No. Are they back to where they were, a few months ago? No, I don't think so. But I think it is a little warning sign to them, boys. We have to keep these standards. Otherwise, we're not that far away from where we were a few months ago. Outside of that, I thought the intercept try from Adokar was incredible, watching him fly like that. Max King had a solid game up front. But, Raymond Fatella Mariner. He also had quite a solid game, but as a team, as a collective, like even Burton only kicked for 273 metres. He usually kicks for around 600 metres, 500 to 600 metres. Just a real down game from everyone. I think it might have. I think they went over to New Zealand early. Maybe that had a bearing on it. They were over there for too long. The boys are a bit over it. I'm not sure. What do you think about this game, Guru?
Yeah, I thought Canterbury were pretty disappointing. I mean, you consider that, they lost the first half. They were down 18-6 or whatever, and then they came out the second half and they lost the second half as well. They scored off an intercept. Flano crossed as well, so I don't know, it just wasn't much. I never felt like they were really in this one. And then when the Warriors, the last 10 minutes, they obviously really blew them out. 3 try scorers there, but I never felt like Canterbury were in this one by the time it started.
From essentially the first few sets, I didn't see the same Bulldogs that I'd seen.
Even their first try, it was Vale that scored. Like the way that SJ held the ball up, the Canterbury line was just in disarray. And they just haven't been like that the last few weeks. I would argue the last 6 weeks they've played what I would call top 8 footy.
Yep.
But this was definitely back to bottom 4 sort of footy.
Timmy?
Yeah, there's no way of sugarcoating it. They were pretty ordinary in this run, the Doggies, but I wouldn't be that concerned. As Guru said, 6 weeks worth of really, really good football. Let's remember where they've come from the last couple of seasons. It was only about 5-6 weeks ago that we were thinking they're every chance to win the wooden spoon this season. They've turned it around. We look at the best sides in the competition. They have down weeks. Well, this is a side who was fighting for a wooden spoon a month ago. So, I think one trip over the Tasman, one poor week, it's very forgivable. As you said, you're right in the sense that, all right, we've had a good 6 weeks. Let's not let standards slip. But I think if it happened 2 weeks in a row, then I'd be worried. But 1 week, it happens to the best of the best.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Very, very disappointing. But it's not like, oh, fuck, the season's, we're back where we were and all that kind of carry on. I think it's still exciting times with the Bulldogs. I think they've still got such a bright future. And I still believe I will be surprised if they're not battling for the top 8 next year.
And it's so hard for a side to get up every single week if they're playing for a minor premiership, top 4 or top 8. They're in this little section now where they're playing for nothing, really, except for pride. And they've done it for so long. So that is hard to get up for week in, week out.
Probably a good little transition, but obviously Canterbury, I would say, that's probably for me their most disappointing performance of the season.
I don't think it's their worst, but disappointing. Yeah.
Considering where they've come over the last 6 weeks and what we expect from them now, and obviously we'll get to Parramatta in a second. That's them by far and away their most disappointing performance of the season this weekend. They play each other next week.
Oh, really?
3 p.m. Saturday.
It's not good for the Dogs because Eels will probably be angry. I've never been more sure of an Eels premiership.
It's not bad.
Every single week now, you still think the Eels will win a premiership? First of all, I never said they will win the premiership. I said they're a chance to win the premiership. And you know what? It was halfway through the season. I said, regardless of how they go, the rest of the year, good or bad, as long as they make the 8, I still think they can go on a run, potentially, and win the premiership. Not fucking definitely win it. But anyway, back to the Doggies. Kires had some really good moments. I love Shop's aggression. I really love his aggression. But it's not really much to take out of this game because it was just a bit of a nothing game for the Dogs. They just didn't really seem to... They just didn't... I know it's the old cliche, they didn't turn up, but it really did seem like they just didn't have the same energy as they usually have each week.
Yeah, I get a worrying vibe from a couple of teams that we might have a few more of these in the back end.
As in a few other teams?
Just a few games that are sort of going to be, as it always is at the back end of the season.
Yeah, I reckon they should do what they do in Super League, have that $1 million game or whatever, so they get all the teams that are basically either in the bottom 8 or can't make finals. I think it's the bottom 8, whatever it is. And they play off for X Shield or whatever.
In the finals or in the...
Not in the finals. They play off in a little tournament or something along those lines. So so it might be in the finals. So maybe in finals week. I'm not sure when it is, but it's basically the bottom teams playing for... It's just to make the bottom tier teams entertaining. Imagine if Bulldogs, Warriors, Tigers, Knights were actually playing for something right now. There would be some really interesting games. Whereas when these bottom tier teams play, it's kind of like...
They've got their promotion relegation system where they drop the 3 clubs, the bottom of the season, because there's so many clubs and so much depth there, they can afford to sort of bring them up and down. Just very different system, but I see what you're saying in that
Incentive.
there's something to liven up that bottom end of the table.
Like even if it was $1 million for their development or something. Because like the good thing about that is if a bottom tier team wins it and then they have to put $1 million into like development, not only is that good for their community, their area, but also it may be just the tiny injection they need to go into the top 8. And I know it's like, it's technically unfair, but in saying that, like the grand final winners, I know they win barely any money, but they win some money, don't they? The grand final winners,
$250K or something,
which is nothing when you think about it. Seriously.
Well, I think the minor premiership's like $100K.
It's so embarrassing. Like that is like honestly, it's almost shouldn't even bother. Like that wouldn't even be a day worth of organisation costs. Or maybe a day. Seriously, maybe a day. I'm trying to think.
Well, what, it's half of the minimum salary for a player?
Well, it's just under a minimum salary. Yeah. So you basically get
26 weeks of fucking grueling.
And you win the minor premiership. They've got to fix that. But the problem is you don't want to give them too much because then they get even fucking better the next year.
That's obviously when all that Melbourne Storm happened 10 years ago and they said we're going to take your minor premierships off you, I was like, fuck,
Who
my
cares?
God, here's
No
some
one
loose
cares.
change.
Yeah.
Cheers.
But yeah, doggies, nothing to worry about yet. You've done so well to turn it around. Great signing. And Ciraldo's coming. The greatest assistant coach of all time. He's it. Really, you know what I can't wait for though? The excitement that it's going to bring next year. Like we all know Ciraldo is at least a decent coach. Like I'm not sure how he goes as a head coach. It might be great. It might be okay. It might be bad. Whatever it is. But the excitement around the Bulldogs.
It's going to be interesting regardless.
Exactly. Like the excitement that it's going to generate for the doggies. And also that players turning their season around are going to add to that excitement because they're the ones that turn the season around. And don't forget, guys, the Dad Drop is still live. The Dad Drop pre-sale is still live. Head to bloke.shop. You can choose one of Grumpy Dad, Best Dad, Cool Dad. Plus, you get a Dad stubby cooler for $59.95. So we sold out of the packs. We sold out of that in I think it was nearly the first night we sold out of all the packs, which was incredible. Thank you so much. But we still have the shirts there. So the Grumpy Dad, the Best Dad, the Cool Dad, you can buy that individually. Or we ordered more stubby coolers that should be with us soon because it's a pre-sale, obviously. So we had time to do it. And so we've made it that you can get a Good Dad, Best Dad, Cool Dad, Best Dad, Grumpy Dad. So one of those shirts and a stubby cooler for $59.95. That's at bloke.shop. We've got other shops, other shirts there too. We've got our grey bloke shirt. We've got our black bloke shirt. We may have some hoodies left. So head over to bloke.shop. You might find something that you really like. And if you've got a dad or you're a dad, spoil yourself. Grab a dad shirt or grab it for Father's Day, which is coming up in a couple of weeks, I think. Early September, Father's Day. So perfect gift. $59.95, you get a shirt, you get a stubby cooler that says Dad on it. Perfect gift. Also, grab a case of Bloke In A Bar from your local. Boom, there it is, the original Bloke. Perfect beer for watching the footy. Now, we are in every single Celebrations, Bottle-O, Porter's Liquor and IGA Plus Liquor in New South Wales and ACT. So if you are listening to this right now, you live in New South Wales or ACT, if you've got a Celebrations or Bottle-O near you or an IGA Plus Liquor, head in there. They will stock Bloke In A Bar. Or if you're in Queensland, we're in every single Celebration Superstore. Or you can go to blokeinabar.com. You use our store locator. You put in your postcode. Shows you the nearest stockist for even our midi or our original lager. So grab a case of the beautiful beer. And if you haven't tried it yet, give it a try. It's a beautiful beer. The recipe we came up with a recipe with one of the best young brewers in the country. Like this guy he speaks at beer events, some of the biggest beer events actually, and he came up with the recipe. So it's a high quality beer. It's not fruity. It's not hoppy. It's beer that tastes like real beer. It's beer for blokes that turn up for their family, mates, and good times. So turn up for a Bloke In A Bar beer. Now let's get back to the footy. Actually, let's skip this game. Eels versus Rabbitohs, not important. Not important. Roosters, Cowboys, what a match. No. Eels versus Rabbitohs, holy moly. Are the Rabbitohs back? Ish.
They're a weird side. Were they ever out?
For me, they were.
Yeah,
For me, fucking
like
oath they were.
winning a comp, are you saying? Or?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, okay.
That for me, they were. For me, if you had said maybe longer, 10 weeks ago, For me, making the 8 was a win. Now I'm going, are they a bit of a smoky? Now, I'm not saying they're one of the favourites at all, but I wouldn't want to play this team come finals. I would not want to play them.
I agree with you. I think they're going to be. You're going to want to avoid them come
They're
finals.
just fucking. They just have these freaks of nature that can just turn games on their head when they want to.
But they're a wild footy side because they started with a tough draw. They didn't do too well. Then they had a soft draw. They didn't do too well. And now all of a sudden they got this tough draw. And I'm going, oh, they're in a bit of trouble, and they're doing heaps well.
6 from 7. 6 from 7.
And the loss was only in Golden Point as well.
Yeah, so 6 from 7. Their only loss is to the Sharks by a point, and Latrell missed 3 field goal attempts. Yeah. On top of that, they've beaten the Storm and the Eels twice in that run. So it's not like they haven't beaten top tier teams. I think Demetrio deserves a massive rap. Now, obviously, we have to wait till the end of the season, but it could have been a disaster this year. It's the first club that Wayne Bennett has left that has continued finals footy pretty much, if they do make it in the end. Thoughts, Guru?
Yeah, I definitely think they will play finals footy. I just think they're on such a tear at the moment. I think there's other teams, like the team they played the other night, Parramatta, that are struggling. So I think that they will play top 8 footy this year. Can they push for a top 4 berth, Matty?
Yep.
Is it possible?
Absolutely. Storm are sitting on 30. They are sitting on 28 points, and they're 4 and against.
Don't you play Do you play Melbourne over the next 3 weeks?
Nah, but we play Penrith this week.
Penrith,
Cows, Penrith, Cowboys, Roosters.
So they're about 70 points behind Storm. So it's not terribly bad.
Fuck, how good's that round 25 game going to be?
Oh, fucking hell. Seriously. It will almost be like a grand final.
And it's like it's already sold out.
Fuck, I want to get to it now, eh? Oh, man.
It's going to be mad.
I want to go to it just to experience it.
Just to be there. Yeah.
Fucking hell.
I could be wrong, but hasn't it lined up to that? I think the Swans are meant to have a home final that weekend. Is that right? Did I read that somewhere? So it could potentially, you could have 150,000 people at Fox Studios that night. It could be insane.
Mate, it's going to be incredible. Incredible.
But I thought they were very, very impressive in this game. Obviously, Parramatta far from their best, but I don't know. I feel like South Sydney would have beaten most teams the other night.
They were really good.
Just in good touch at the moment.
And they just looked like the team of last year where they had this crazy line speed, and Totola has gone to a whole new level. Like, to think a team with Tom Burgess would go as well without Tom Burgess, like as their main guy. I know he's still to come back. He's serving his suspension, correct?
So he served his suspension, but then he got injured. So he's having he was training today, I just read, and on light duty. So he's no certainty to come back this week.
Even
groin injury. Yeah.
Even last year, if you said to me they don't have Tom Burgess, I would be like, I'm a bit worried that they won't get the go forward that they need. So it just shows you how far they've
Against
come.
Parramatta?
I know. Totola ran for 200 metres.
It's arguably the best pack on paper.
Probably is. You know what? I'd go as far. If it's not, it's one of.
When it wants to be.
Yeah, when it wants to be. Because you look at it on paper, you've got Madison, Papali'i, RCG, Paolo, Lane. That's in career best form. Like that right there is even you've got Leota, Fisher Harris, you've got Martin, and then on the other edge you've got Kikau. I would probably say that the Eels might just have got Isaiah Yeo. Maybe Isaiah Yeo tips them over the edge a little bit, maybe. But it's competitive.
I'd say that Lane's probably the most informed out of all of them. And like you, he'd probably be the last one I'd name.
Yeah, which is it just shows you how strong that 4-pack should be. But anyway, let's get back to the Rabbitohs. Thoughts about the game?
Yeah, you mentioned Totola there. He's been incredible. I saw your post the other day. He's gone to a new level over the last few weeks. And I agree. 6 weeks ago, I was sitting there going, without Tom Burgess, they're in serious trouble here. Last 2 years, I've been sitting there going, they're short front rowers.
Yeah, same.
He has just come on. He's been incredible, Totola. Obviously, we're missing the halfback. Ellis was out of this game, so Hawkins came in. Thought he did a pretty solid job.
Mate, they look the same.
Yeah,
they look the same. If anything, in periods they kind of looked better. And I'm not saying it's the Ilias is the reason. I'm just saying to lose your key 7 and to look better, it's pretty impressive.
I'd say the other thing too, they've obviously lost Reynolds, they've lost Gagai, they've made up those spots. But I remember watching that grand final last year, going, Blake Taaffe is going to be so important next year. They're not even using him.
Yeah, crazy.
They've got Nicarima in the squad. They're not using him either, and they're fine.
It's really impressive. Seriously, like Cody Walker looks better, Damien Cooks look better, Latrell obviously. Cam Murray is just a beast. I think Jai Arrow's line running on the edge is so crucial to all their great players. Like that line run, it's the do or die. Like if you don't get that right, you don't hold the defence up and they don't have the space on the edge. Alex Johnson is continuing to score just try after try. Timmy, what do you think about the game?
Yeah, there are a few examples on the weekend of, I think, the class side starting to peak towards finals. And we know that this is the time of year that the good coaches start to get their sides up for. And when I say the good sides and the class rosters, it's these sides who have done well in recent years and do have the good rosters. And it's Melbourne lifting for a big game. It's the Bunnies and the Roosters lifting for really big games. So I don't think the timing of the season is any surprise that they've all got up for it. And the Bunnies, they were fantastic, weren't they? I mean, it's very hard trying to work out what sort of side they beat because you don't know with Parham. We'll get to them shortly. But, I mean, the Bunnies on what they've done the last 6 weeks, they've just flipped things on its head, and you'd be brave. And I was with you, Campy. I'd sort of been pretty close to putting a line through them this season. You'd be a brave person to rule them out based on what we know that they can do with ball in hand because their ball movement. And, you know, we talk about Latrell's who finishes with a little tip on here. We talk about Cody who goes deep into line, but it all starts with Cam Murray in the middle.
Yep.
And the amount of defenders he attracts and just the service he's giving, it all starts with him. So from going from one side of the field to the other, they're just electric.
Yeah.
It's what we saw last year.
Yeah, it really is. Like maybe they lack that little bit extra bit of class that Reynolds can obviously deliver and Gago in the centres, but like I think Tass has been really good since he been brought back in. He came in, he had those errors. Then since he's been brought back in, he's been outstanding. 208 metres for Tass. 1 try assist, 12 tackles, only 2 misses.
And if you look at Tass as well, if you go back and look at the game, most of his runs would have been tackle one off the ruck, like TOTW does. Like he takes so many tough carries.
So many tough carries. Like he's been outstanding. And we have to remember Campbell Graham isn't in the side. We're talking about their best back pretty much outside Latrell Mitchell.
Due back this week with a bit of luck.
Yep. So that's huge for him. Isaac Thompson.
He's been unbelievable.
Where the fuck did he come from?
Hey, a great story on that one. So one of my good mates, Nick Campton, Journo, he put out a story on Thompson the last couple of days. He didn't play a game of footy for 5 years between 2017 and 2022.
What?
Yep. Hame Sele is a good mate of his, and he got on the phone to him and sort of got chatting to him, started G'ing him up, saying, mate, like, you're a gun. We need to get you up and moving. I think it was Demetrio and one of the other coaching staff at the Bunnies had coached him in lower grades, and they sort of said, oh, yeah, sweet, like, get him up and going. Let's bring him in for a pre-season on. I don't know the complete detail, but it would have been train and trial at absolute best.
Yeah, it was train and trial.
Train and trial. Yeah. And he went from not playing a game of footy in 5 years to being in the NRL.
So that's why he's come out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Because he is a fucking beast. He's massive. And like he looks like a veteran. Seriously. Like he plays like a veteran. He doesn't look overwhelmed. He takes the right hit ups. He makes the right calls in defence. Like I just cannot believe this guy's come out of
nowhere.
Like nowhere, but not just come out of nowhere. Like he's come in like a veteran. Like when they said he was 24 or 5, I assumed that he had been this veteran playing in New South Wales Cup and just grinded away and eventually been given his shot. But then I was like, how is that possible? A guy this good hasn't been picked up by another team that needs big, strong wingers. And I guess that explains it. Amazing stuff. Yeah, it's just, and then you've obviously got Johnston, who continues to score. I mean, he might be the greatest. I mean, he really might be the greatest fucking line finder in the world.
I posted a thing last night about Suoli and Cobbo for the Australian team, and someone commented, why aren't we talking about AJ?
Yeah, fair call.
I mean, he deserves to at least be in the combo. I just think maybe his carries out of the trouble aren't just comparable to the best and the best.
Yeah, fair, but I mean, he's going to be the greatest try scorer of all time.
Yeah, it's a
and we're
good
not
point.
talking about him.
Yeah. What is with Rabbitohs and finding wingers that just can find the line? Like Nathan Merritt at the worst club, they were struggling so bad. He was like leading try scorer fucking.
You've also got like a guy like Thompson. Like it's not the first time they've done this. Matty, who was the fella? Was it Everingham?
Yeah.
Andrew Everingham.
Like he disappeared into. I think he went to
Rugby.
or
Yeah,
something.
Japanese rugby.
Yeah. And then who was your your centre you won the comp with.
Dylan Walker and Kirasami Ava.
Like, he came from nowhere as well. Like, it's incredibly impressive.
Yeah, the Rabbitohs, man, if I'm being honest, at the start of the year, I just saw, man, the history of Wayne leaving and clubs, like, there's something going on here. Like, it's just not going to pan out. But, like, Latrell Mitchell, what he has done to this squad, the confidence that he's brought, but also to deliver in the way he has, there's a reason why he's Latrell Mitchell. I think we kind of, because we're used to seeing him play now, that we've kind of become, I guess, a bit desensitized to what this guy can do, and we appreciate it, but we don't actually realise what we're witnessing in front of us. Like, we don't actually realise that here is a kid that is still only just turned 25. He's done everything in the game, and he has still so much impact on a team that he can take them from, they'll be lucky to make the 8, to literally some people going, fuck, I wouldn't want to be playing them in the finals. That's how good Latrell Mitchell is.
We're only scratching the surface as well, aren't we? Like,
easy.
He's still so raw in his time at fullback due to all the games he's missed. It happened quite recently from joining the Bunnies. Like, I feel like there's so much more to come from Latrell at fullback.
Yeah, I totally agree. Another full preseason under his belt, all the fitness, everything like that. He's incredible. Like, wow.
How good is it for rugby league, whether you love or hate the Bunnies, just them firing at the moment? Like, with the history of that club, but more importantly, just as footy fans, they're such an exciting team to watch. So for them to come from the abyss, and when we say the abyss and battling, they were always around the 8, weren't they? They never went that dark, but to see them firing, I really look forward to watching the Bunnies every weekend again.
Yeah, absolutely, and especially considering that they're the youngest club at the comp. It's pretty incredible that they've been able to do what they did.
Such little time.
In such little time. Like, to build such a heritage in such a short span, it's fucking amazing.
Do you think the Burrow formed, 18 years ago?
Yeah, that's great. Like, 18 years ago, and they've put their roots this deep. It's amazing. It's
all
amazing.
In the shadow of the Roosters. So incredible.
Okay, that's where I'm drawing the line.
Oh, yeah, got him. There it is. There was even some people that commented and said, hey, you can call my team shit, you can call the club fucking, but I will not fucking cop that they aren't the oldest team in the comp.
And this stadium war as well is just reigniting the South.
I guess we'll talk
Roosters.
about it. So basically, Souths are without a stadium next year. And that's where I go, like, whether you like rugby league or you don't like rugby league, and this is all jokes aside, the Rabbitohs are a foundation club in rugby league. Rugby league is a huge part of the community, but also the Rabbitohs, what they mean to that area is like, you can't put words to what they mean to that area, especially the area they're in. For them, the lack of respect for them as an organisation, for them not to have a stadium for next year, for me, is baffling. Like, we're talking about an organisation that has impacted people for, 100 years?
And the rest.
And the rest, what?
112?
112.
1908.
How many other organisations still exist and have that so much impact in communities that are 100 years old? Like, it's rare. Like, they usually kept around because it's more of a tradition to respect it. It was there before. We have something that is over 100 years old that still is a vital part of their area, and they don't have a stadium yet. It is totally bizarre to me. It is, and maybe there is more to it, and maybe the Rabbitohs have done something like they didn't handle it properly, but everything I'm reading is the Rabbitohs have continually asked what's going on. And so could you give us more information on what's going on with the stadiums?
Basically, Souths were contracted to stay at a core stadium till 2030. But there was a clause in that contract to say if the renovation doesn't go ahead, we can leave that contract.
Yep.
So basically, the renovation didn't go ahead, and now they want to go back to Allianz. And don't forget, they were at Allianz from 1988 to 2005. I'm pretty sure those are the numbers. So, like, they've been there before, and before that, they were in Redfern. So they've only been in Western Sydney since 2006. Anyway, basically, they're like, well, we're getting out of this contract now. We want to play at the new stadium. And I think it's the New South Wales government that hasn't signed off on it. I don't know why. Maybe it's got something to do with this whole Volandis thing, and maybe they're like Souths are collateral damage. I don't know.
So is this Roosters same stadium as Roosters?
Yeah. Yeah, the new Allianz Stadium.
So do you think it has something to do with the fact that Roosters want to have it as their home ground?
100%. Because Politis and that wouldn't want South in there. So maybe they have a say to Valenti as well. But surely the NRL would rather South play out of the new stadium. Like that, and I don't understand why the government don't want teams in their new stadium. They just built this new stadium.
And also, like, the stadium, although there is no denying that the power of, Politis and their ability to get things done would have had a huge say in that stadium get done. I'm assuming anyway. But that stadium wasn't built just for the Roosters, was it?
No, like the seats are literally there as well. Like they have all different shades of blue because one's Sydney FC, one's the Waratahs. Like, for example, if the Sharks are going to play a home final there in a few weeks. Like, it's not just the Rooster Stadium.
Yeah. And I actually think it adds more to the rivalry that they play at the same stadium. Like, I think it's like it adds more to the rivalry.
It's a turf war. All of a
It's
sudden,
literally a turf war. Matty'd be at the front, ready to go. Gangs of New York style. You'd be Leonardo DiCaprio at the front. Was it Bill the Butcher? What was the guy's name? The incredible actor from Old Blood. What's it called? Old Blood? Oh, man, now I'm forgetting. Brain freeze. He's also in The Phantom Thread. Oh, my God, I can't believe I'm forgetting this guy's name. He's literally the greatest actor of all time. Anyway, sorry, guys.
I'd say you lost me, but you never had me.
Gangs of New York. Have you seen the movie Gangs of New York, Leonardo DiCaprio?
I have, actually.
No, I don't think I've either.
None of yous?
I haven't even watched
It's a
Gladiator.
bloody classic. And I'm the fucking bad guy. You the guys haven't watched any classic
We're just
cinema.
trying to get a word in with the drill there. You're talking.
Jesus Christ, it's a bloody classic, mate. Well, I tell you what, go and watch it. It'll make your life better.
No.
It's a great piece of cinema. There Will Be Blood. That's what he's also in. There Will Be Blood. Tell me you've seen There Will Be Blood, please. Oh, my God. Seriously. No culture, no art, you guys.
I've seen it, but only because you told me to say it.
Have you seen it?
No, I haven't. We'll put it on the list.
I can't believe I still can't think of the guy's name. He's literally... Anyway, whatever. Yeah, like, as I said, not only have they been poorly handled by the fact that they agreed to a contract that said the upgrades would happen, and then they didn't happen, then they should have every right to... Like, that's a community stadium. Is it not the government paying for it? Is not the government's funds come from the community? So how are they not allowed to play there? Doesn't make sense to me.
No.
Doesn't make sense. And I just think that it adds to the incredible... And like, as the government, don't you want as many people using it as possible? Because it's a community asset that you need to pay off. Like, we're in debt. Anyway, if you want to listen to my politics podcast, it's going to be up and running after this one. But yeah, anyway, Rabbitohs, look, incredible stuff. They've also come out and said they're quite, confident that they're going to keep guys like Walker, Cook, Murray. Well, they're definitely keeping Murray. And also Latrell. Do you see that being broken up anytime soon?
I don't think so. I think they will. I think, especially after losing Reynolds and Gagai, there's got to be some coin there.
Well, Latrell is on like unders at the moment, I'm pretty sure too. So they're going to have to upgrade him.
Yeah, but I don't think Latrell will want a ridiculous amount of money, to be honest with you.
You don't reckon you want $1 million? He's already turned down $1 million to be there.
Yeah, I don't think he will.
Really? Okay.
He's
I think he's
25.
worth it.
He's got a long time to go.
I think he's earned it, to be honest.
I have no doubt he's earned it. I'm not arguing that, but I reckon he'll be happy to keep himself, Cody Walker, Damien Cook to try and win a comp over the next few years.
So you reckon, what do you got there, Matty?
I'm just saying it's slightly concerned that those three guys are all off contract at the same time. And they can all speak November 1. So let's hope.
They're 1-6, 9-13. All should be commanding 800 plus comfortably. Like, that's a big chunky cap.
Yeah.
We spoke about top-ended, rosters before. Well, the Bunnies, if they're keeping them forward, they're going to be one of them.
Yeah, totally. Look, I can see... look, Latrell has proven he will take unders to be at a club.
Yep.
Like, he was literally offered over $1 million by multiple clubs, and he decided to go to the Rabbitohs because he wanted to play specifically for that club. And that's what, I understand some people don't like... not that they don't like Latrell, but they're not a fan of Latrell or whatever. But, that doesn't get spoken about enough. There are very few players that will literally turn down millions of dollars and take a big, big pay cut. We're talking hundreds of grands per year to go to a club. And Latrell literally did that. So...
I think the selfish word gets thrown around way too much with Latrell.
Oh, man.
It's bullshit.
Yeah, that's
Wasn't
crazy.
that long ago? You know, if he would have said he was available for game 3, I would have picked him in a heartbeat. That would have been another 30 grand. He pulled himself out of that.
Yeah, $30,000.
Ready for South Sydney.
Gone.
Like I think the narrative around Latrell's fucking bullshit. I remember the week before. I think he played incredibly well, but he ran for 60 metres. Everyone bagged him for that. He topped the run count this week, 211 metres. All of a sudden, that went hush hush.
Well, what I love about Latrell is like he kind of defies what we expect all the time. Like, this is what the fullback should be. This is the shape, the size, the way they should play. He comes and says, nah. Even like the way he played centre, it was just so beautiful to watch. Like, you know, in a selfish way, I would love him to just play one more year before his career's over at centre, just to see that monster on the edge throwing blokes around like he did for so many years. But anyway, yeah, Latrell's incredible. Now, on to any other boys. Keon, again, far out he's matured, man. He's so consistent. And like, how many times have we seen these incredible big edge back rowers? They come in and they have a few good games and then they're quiet. Few games and they're quiet. Keon is just constantly consistent now. Like, I think at the start of his career, he had a tendency to drop in and out of a season. This year, every single game is just high quality. Like, it's always quality with him now. It's just so impressive.
Yeah, I don't look at him anymore as a
rookie kind of.
Yeah, I don't look at him as a rookie at all anymore. I know what I'm going to get every week. I expect that every week from him as well. If he was to have a couple of off weeks, I'd be pretty disappointed in him because he's set that standard for himself now.
For sure. And I think that you'd be crazy if he's not in Origin talks. I think that's crazy. Like, if he isn't at least considered for the Origin squad next year. Now, I understand you can only pick 2 players, but far out. Like, for example, like a guy like Ola Katuatu and Keon, like the next young guys coming up. It's a scary edge back row if they can be consistent.
Was it last year that Freddie picked him in Origin, or was that this year in the squad?
I think it was last year he was in the squad. I'm pretty sure.
That's good.
You know, so like him in a Blues jersey, be a pretty scary prospect on the edge there.
What it means for the Bunnies as well, having that strike weapon week in, week out. They're obviously a left side dominated attack because of how ridiculously good it is. You know, Cody plays on that left side. Latrell tends to prefer left side. But now they've got Keon killing it on the right with that attacking line. So like all good back rowers should do, even when he's not getting the ball, he's attracting them. And then you've got Latrell sweeping out the back of him on the right, and Cody often slides to the other side and shifts and plays right as well, just in attacking movements. So across the whole ground, they've got these just attacking threats. Have fun defending them. When the pack are moving forward and rolling, they can score anywhere.
I want to throw Campbell Graham back in there.
Yeah. And I want to give Havili a shout out. He's been great off the bench. Like, when he was brought to the club, I was like, oh, Cookie's a 80-minute player. Is it worth the buy? But I actually think he suits exactly what they need, which is speed and power off the bench. He's been outstanding. Another guy I want to give a shout out to, Jai Arrow. Just gone about his work. Doesn't get the raps he deserves, in my opinion. 192 metres, 27 tackles, 0 misses. I think that because he went to such a star-studded side, a lot of people forget, like, at the Titans, he was the guy. Like, he was the guy. And we forget that, like, because he's in a star-studded side, he kind of just goes about his business. But when you really look at it, this is a back row. Keon, Jai Arrow, and Cam Murray. Like, you could argue that back row could take it to any back row in the comp. It really could on its day. And so things are looking good. Things are looking good for the Rabbitohs. I really like where they're headed. Another year with Lockie Ilias, under his belt. I think next year is going to be even better. I think as long as they can re-sign those key players, I think the Rabbitohs are in a really strong spot, and they deserve a rap as an organisation for losing such key players and being able to continue on the way they have. Really, really good stuff. Great win by the Rabbitohs. Now, on to the Eels. Well, I don't know.
This is Parramatta.
But
I don't know who they play Canterbury next week. If they go and win that by 40, it won't surprise me. They're just, I don't know.
Do you know?
Any more analysis, Dad?
Yeah, I know. No, what is becoming clearer and clearer to me is just complacency and attitude. And I don't think anyone could say that's being harsh, because we know that they can match it, not even match it with the best in the NRL. They can beat the best in the NRL. And then they go and drop games to the Bulldogs and the Tigers quite convincingly when they were at the bottom of the table, and you sort of sit there going, all right, well, a bit complacent, they're not getting up for those games. But you're like, all right, at least they're getting up for the big games and the big competitive games that they need to. We've seen it time and time again. And then this game, they're playing for a top 8 spot, massive game against the Rabbitohs, who are rivals for that top 8 spot / top 4, and they just get blown off the park. And it's it's across the board, but it starts in the middle. And I look at someone like Junior Borlo, who is one of the top prop forwards in the game. But the difference between him and like Payne Haas and David Clemmer is that in bad results for the Knights and the Broncos, they're still running for 180 metres. Junior Borlo on the weekend ran for 74 metres. And he has these games where he doesn't. And I just don't see what else you can put that down to other than attitude.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like Junior Polo, he's been like, he's usually their consistent one, like especially last year, if I recall correctly. He only had 38 minutes. Do you think he might be injured?
Potentially.
Because he played like 60 minutes or some shit, like against someone recently, I'm pretty sure.
Well, we know he can do it easily, like big minutes if they need him to.
And like, I thought he was great in Origin.
And it's not like they were like, they went into this game, I thought they were lucky to be only down 14-0 at half time, but they weren't out of it.
Yeah, no, they weren't. They actually like won some of the stats. So for example, the week before he played 48 minutes and ran for 173 metres.
It's the least amount of minutes he's played all year.
Maybe he's injured. He honestly might be injured. Because 38 minutes for a key forward like that, and their backs, the reserve grade, the reserves, they played a pretty substantial minutes, I think. Again, 49 minutes, 187 metres.
In 8 games this year, he's run for under 105 metres.
Yeah, interesting.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of those have been under 100 metres. Like, in terms of getting up week in, week out, so I don't have Huss's stats here or Clemmer's, but no matter how bad the result is, they're running for like 150 plus comfortably.
Yeah,
maybe it's an unfair comparison.
I will say he plays a little bit of a different role for...
I was about to say, the bit more ball playing, and also... that they're so pivotal to their packs, Haas and in particular Clemmer. But, they've also got a lot of very good forwards, all 3 of those sides. Maybe I'm being a bit critical on him, but it's just frustrating.
No, it's a good example because, I agree. I think RCG and Junior Polo, they're the tone setters. And whenever Para play poorly, they just don't seem to have that energy. And I actually spoke about it around the Origin period where I felt that Eels were a little bit too reliant on those two to deliver for them. And I think that is why they went into the market for a really good front rower to ease a bit of that need for these guys to like come out and absolutely brain it every single week, be the tone setters. Unless if those 2 guys are on, they usually play really well. If they're not, they don't. So you could say that maybe that's a knock on them, or you could say it's a knock on the setup that they have where they are so heavily reliant on just 2 front rowers. They're almost like the only team that is like, if their front rowers aren't on, they just can't win.
But even then, you've got like Maddo there, Papali'i, who, drifts between middle and edge a fair bit, Sean Lane, who's, very much sticks to his edge, but then they've got some good forwards coming off the bench. Like, why are they so reliant on these 2 guys?
They shouldn't be that, like, all we do is compliment IPAP and all we do is compliment Sean Lane. Maddo's been fantastic this year as well. He made his way into Origin. Why are they so reliant on these 2 front rowers?
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. I honestly don't know. Because, he still made 31 tackles, only missed 2. So it's not like, and then you got Campbell Gillard, 31 tackles, 4 misses, which is a little bit on the higher end, but the Rabbitohs were moving around quite a bit. Yeah, it's a really interesting one. I think that they would be disappointed with their performance for sure on the weekend. 38 minutes is a really interesting one. I don't understand that unless he's injured or, the coach wanted to go a different direction.
Maybe they just didn't... I'd have to have a look, but maybe they just didn't bring him back on late, was it? Because of the blowout score or something?
Yeah, maybe.
He didn't get his extra 10 or...
Sean Lane was fucking really good.
Oh,
he was
been
really
this
good.
year, Sean Lane.
He has been really good. That's the thing. When you look at these para losses, outside of RCG and Junior's numbers were a bit down. All their numbers are not that bad, So it's like Dylan Brown still ran for 122 metres, 24 tackles, only 2 misses. Jacob Arthur still kicked for 457 metres, 20 tackles, only 3 misses. But I just can't put my finger on with the Eels. Like, no one can.
I don't think they can.
Like, no one can. Like, the only thing is, like, maybe they're just waiting. What do you got there, Matty?
So Paulo came off in the 22nd minute, then came back on in the 56th minute, and then went off in the 72nd minute.
It's interesting.
So if it's a tight game, he probably plays the last 8 for sure, you think. So even that'd push him up above 40.
Yeah. I know it sounds crazy, but I think they're just waiting for finals. The problem is they could literally bounce out.
Yep.
Could you imagine the carnage that's going to happen if they bounce out of the finals? Does Brad Arthur stay?
Well, this is the thing with Brad Arthur. I mean, we just went through that entire pack. He brought IPAP over as a reserve grader. He's turned Sean Lane, respectfully, from, I thought, one of the more inconsistent first graders to this year, one of the more consistent. He's got Matto over here, who's now played Origin, got those front rowers. Like, he's done an incredible job, but at some point, if you can't take them to that next step, are you happy being 5th and 6th?
Well, it's tough because it's like, I am happy being 5th and 6th, better than fucking on the bottom of the table.
Yeah, but for how long?
Yeah, I know. I agree with you. I'm totally with you.
It's so unfair on Brad Arthur.
Do you give him an extra year?
But we'll be having... I personally will be having the same conversation
because they lost Papali'i, they lost Reid Marnie.
I think it'd be very stiff if they got rid of him for next year, even if they miss the finals. I know that we expect so much better, but Christ, he hasn't been that bad. Like,
I think we're all...
I'd be happy to hold him.
I'd definitely hold him for another year, at least another year. And I would say to, like, mate, this is the year. Yeah. This is the year. But then the thing is, they may have had that conversation with him already. This is the year.
Well, surely knowing that Reid was leaving, like, surely this I think this was the year. Yeah. I'll tell you what, though, if he became available, if I was a bottom 4 club, I'd snap him up in a heart.
Yeah, because he's proven he can take a bottom to the top 4.
Parramatta shouldn't be where they are when he walked in. We've said it before. Like, they shouldn't, like, for the position he walked in on, they were an absolute shit fight.
They were a basket case, like a basket case. So, yeah, really interesting times. I know people don't like this, but I genuinely still think that they're such a bogey team that they could get to the finals. We talked about it. Complacency is the issue. There is no complacency in finals. Yeah. And I think last year they showed it. A similar thing happened last year where they just went back half of the year, they dove off a cliff. They got into the finals and they really ripped and teared. But it's not looking good. It really isn't looking good.
So at the moment, like, if they're in finals, do we think they'll be 7th or 8th?
Probably. So they'll have to probably play...
So they're looking at an away game, either Brisbane, South Sydney or Melbourne.
Yeah.
At least South Sydney stay in Sydney, but if you have to go to Suncorp or Amy Park...
Oh, it's a tough gig. The problem is, though, is like they've proven they can beat the top tier.
They've probably got the best record at Amy Park outside of Melbourne. So, yeah.
It's like, they've proven they can do it. So, yeah, real interesting. There's not much else we can say with the Eels, guys. Like, it seems like this every second week we're sitting there going, fuck, sorry, guys, like, just didn't turn up. Now, on to Roosters v. the Cowboys. I will say there were a few calls in this game where I was like, that's a tough call. But I do probably think the Roosters, the Roosters were a better side. I felt like they deserved to win. But I definitely thought there was a few calls where I was like, man, that's tough on the Cowboys, like really tough. Like there was a one where he didn't even get dragged out and he threw the ball back in, but they penalised, but the Cowboys got penalised for dragging him towards the line. You know what I mean? So the refs are going, held.
Yeah.
They're dragging him. And as he does that, he throws it. He blows a whistle. And it's a penalty. Again, I'm not saying he intentionally did it, but I thought, fuck, that's a tough call on the Cowboys. Another interesting point from this game. The Verrills one was absolute. I don't like, how's that a try? How is that a try? What? Anyway. To be clear, though, I did think the Roosters were probably the better side. So I'm not saying that. I just thought that Cowboys fans have a right to feel a bit like, ooh, we got it tough. But, again, it always comes back around. A couple of weeks ago, it helped you. So it's not like you haven't got your calls as well. I thought an interesting fact. I thought the Roosters looked the best they've looked in tack in quite a while. To put 32 points on a Cowboy side is not easy. And I thought interesting, Tedesco had the least amount of runs he's had in a while.
18 runs.
Which
That's
is
a half for Teddy normally.
Yeah. And I thought that's really interesting. Like, does he need to just pull back a little bit to open things up for him? Now, it's only one game. And again, like, to be really clear, we're not sitting here saying, oh, Teddy's the reason, this, that, the next thing. But I thought they looked noticeably smoother in attack. What do you guys think about the Roosters?
Yeah, I like that's the first time I've seen that with Teddy, but it is interesting to think about. Obviously, Joey Manu had 21 touches, runs of the football, so 3 more than your fullback Teddy, which is pretty wild. It's probably only this team that you could see that happening to. I don't know. This is the first week I've sort of felt like, okay, maybe it is clicking. Maybe it is starting to come together. I thought the way that they used Connor Watson was really good. Literally took Radley off, put Watson on. He went berserk and they pulled him off. They didn't try and make it all work together. Watson, go and have your impact, bang, come off. I thought that worked really well for them.
Yep. I thought Lodge and Hargreaves were fantastic. I thought Lodge and Hargreaves were like just so good that first 20. I thought they really dominated. It seems like Robinson has settled on a game plan. It's almost like this blitz them first 20 kind of footy, like just go out, go super hard, and then he had Watson and oh my God, it's Mitchell, isn't it? On the bench. Hutchinson. So he had Watson and Hutchinson. So that's 2 smallish players on the bench. I think he is really settled on, we blow him off the park the first 20. So Hargreaves, Lodge, I just want you to go crazy. And then we bring on little fellas to almost, at the very least, keep up that pace of game, or at the best, to increase it again. So the opposition's going, holy shit, this is just too fast for us to handle. I thought Crichton played really well. Radley, I thought, had his best game in quite a while. Nat Butcher was outstanding in defence, 43 tackles, 0 misses. I just think they're getting a real balance to their side. Suaalii, mate, he is like, has he almost locked a position on the wing for Australia? Like, I know I was throwing up as Smokies a bit ago, but like, that's Smoky chat. That's not lock. Are we going as far to say that we would lock him in on the wing?
I'd pick him.
Would you pick him, Tim?
So who would be the other options?
So you've got
Josh Addo-Carr.
You've got Addo-Carr. You've got Dane Gagai. Valentine Holmes.
So we'll have Vale will be at centre.
Yep. So it's pretty much Gagai that will be pushing him for that spot.
Are we assuming Daniel Tupu's playing for Tonga?
He'll play for Tonga. Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah. Look. So him v Gagai.
Probably.
Well.
And like, Gagai's form hasn't been the best. I mean, I think he had a good game last week, but
hard to argue.
Suaalii, he's just...
His contact at the moment, it hurts to watch.
Mate, and his timing, like, those are not easy tackles to land. Like, they are not easy tackles to land, and he does it every single time. And then Robertson has this great game plan where, well, it's a small part of it, but every time the Roosters score points, guess who takes the second hit up? Suaalii. And it's to make sure Suaalii stays in the game. He stays in the game, because he knows how important he is to their go forward. Whereas sometimes wingers, if you don't force them in there, the winger doesn't know when to go in. He doesn't have the opportunity to. He wants to stay on his wing because he's trying to keep the width. Every single second tackle, Suaalii will take it after the Roosters score points. He kills it every single time. He had 2 line breaks on the weekend and a try. I personally think the Roosters are building to something quite nice.
It's crazy, like, when I watched them, I thought Joey Manu was everywhere that game, the amount of hit-ups he took. He took 21 hit-ups for 177 metres. Suaalii took 15 for 160.
Crazy. You're basically about 9 metres a hit-up as a 19-year-old.
Would have looked all right on the wing for the Bunnies, Matty.
Bunnies are going all right. To be honest, if they kept Suaalii, they probably would have had to lose Latrell, Walker. One of them is going.
Just because of the money that was sent his way.
And like, hindsight's beautiful, but I actually agreed with South's stance at the time that we're not going to mortgage our club and give you all these clauses.
Yeah, for sure.
So that, it's easy to look back and say that, but
100%. It's 100%. You're totally right though. Like, it's so easy for everyone to go, oh, if Rabbitohs knew that he was going to turn into this, they may have gone, oh, okay, but they didn't know. We're judging decisions made 2 years ago with information that they didn't have. But I guess what I found really interesting though is that Roosters were willing to make that risk. Like they were willing to go, you know what, we're willing to have clauses, all that kind of stuff. But I think both clubs won. I really do, because if Rabbitohs keep Suaalii, one of your big backline members is going. There's just no doubt about it. And Rabbitohs are going fine. Aren't they above the Roosters on the table? Yeah, they are. They're above.
Adds another narrative to the story too.
Yeah, for sure. And we love narrative.
He's going to be playing to the Roosters. Well, I hope he's going to be playing to the Roosters for the next 10 or 12 years, and it's going to be brought up all the time.
But the concern at the moment is, so actually Teddy came out and said that he is open to a switch into the 5'8" role. And in the comment, he also said, like eventually, but he also said that would give the opportunity for Suaalii or Manu to play fullback. I actually think the Roosters are in a bit of trouble keeping Manu. Like someone is going to give, something's got to give in that
Surely
backline.
Teddy, Manu and Suaalii can't finish their careers.
There's just no way.
Yeah.
Something's given in that. That just like for example, Manu's taken 21 runs. Like he can, it's almost like he can no longer just sit down on the wing. People, if you remember Manu 2 years ago was a guy that might have 6 to 8 runs, and then 4 of them were incredible. But so he's been biding his time out there, and it's almost gotten to the point where he's like, I can't sit out here any longer. Like I want to get involved in the game. I want to enjoy it. I just can't see a world where they can afford to keep, even financially. Let's say they had an infinite salary cap. And say in the crazy world that they had an infinite salary cap. I just think that Suaalii or Manu is going to want to play fullback or 6.
And so they should.
And it's fair. Like Suaalii played fullback throughout all of his juniors. That's what he is. And so I wonder how they're gonna shape that. I really, really do. Like, because even if Teddy goes to 6, that means you have to lose either Sam Walker or Kiri. And to be clear, Teddy was talking. He said, in a few years. He didn't say now. But even if they do that, if Manu goes to fullback, that Suaalii is still stuck on the wing. If Suaalii goes to fullback, Manu's still stuck in the centres. So really interesting. I mean, it's a great headache to have.
Imagine having these problems at your club.
Fuck me, seriously. Now look, I really think that the Roosters are building towards something, and I think Robinson is slowly beginning to settle on his game plan. Now, is it 2018 all over again? I'm not sure, but I tell you what, they're building nicely. Every week they're getting better, in my opinion, and I think that they may hit real top tier form come finals time. And I think they're just like the Rabbitohs, maybe even more so. They're a scary team to be playing in the finals.
Yeah, this is the first week I've sort of sat back and gone, okay, fuck, Trent's working it out now.
What do you
Starting to
reckon?
get some momentum.
What do you reckon, Timmy?
Yeah, very exciting for the old Roosters fans, and to think they've got Lindsay Collins, he's due back at some stage. Obviously had that concussion, still waiting for symptoms to completely clear for that to bring him back. Taukeiaho due back should be this week. They're 2 massive ins for that forward pack.
Yeah.
And I think it's a bloke we spoken about a fair bit already, and that's Victor Radley. Missed rounds 11 to 15 this season. They lost 4 or 5 in that period. Since he came back off the bench against the Panthers. They almost beat them out at Penrith. They've won 5 on the trot since. So speaking of the value of a lock and a Victor Radley to the club, results say it all there. During that time, they tried things like Taukeiaho at lock. Nat Butcher played a fair bit of lock, who, they're finding that role, but they're not the ball-playing lock that the Roosters need as that link man, that NRL teams need as a link man at lock nowadays more often than not. So I think they've realised that, like, even if Radley were to go down again, surely Connor Watson comes in as that 13 and just in a similar ball-playing role, but hopefully they don't have to, and Radley can see out the season and keeps his hands clear, stays uninjured because he's had a few troubles, but a lot of it's come down to Victor Radley.
It's just a completely different note. Just on James Tedesco, we just said he had 18 runs. He still had 9 tackle breaks.
Yeah, he's fucking
The next
amazing.
best was 5.
Yeah, he's incredible. Some of the tackle breaks too were mental. Like nothing was on, and he was like spinning around in circles and shit, getting out of it. Mental. Also, I'm pretty sure. Again, we've seen this before, so it's not confirmed. But a report has come out that Angus Crichton has been they've agreed to terms and their contract is essentially done.
Wow.
Again, though, We've heard this before. Yeah. But if that is the case, like their cap, I don't like.
Okay, could that have something to do with them? Obviously, like Sam Beryl signing with the Titans last week.
Yeah, maybe.
That's the only thing I can think of. Why?
But like they're going to have Sam Walker upgrading. They're going to have Suoliti upgrading. It's going to be. And they got Cheese coming to the club. Fuck, that's impressive. You know, there's even whispers of the Mad Dog getting offers from the Roosters. Again,
can you imagine if next year the Mad Dog or the year after signed with the Roosters, just the bedlam in rugby league?
Mate, they'd be all right.
Suoliti, Tedesco, Munster, Manu.
Cheese.
If Munster was to go to the Roosters, would it be like, would that announcement be bigger than when Cronk went there, do you think? Or
Nah, I think Cronk was such a stalwart of the Storm system, and he had to such a clean cut look and like the whole loyalty thing. And again, I'm not saying he's being disloyal, but I think that even took the Storm by surprise. Like I think even Storm were a bit like, what? Like you're leaving, fair enough, but to the Roosters, like, yeah, fuck. Could you imagine? Oh my god. There are whispers though. Again, nothing confirmed or whatever, but there's genuine. People have seen the articles of Munster to the Roosters. Fuck, it'd be wild, absolutely wild. Yeah, so
that happens if you're the Dolphins. You must just be sitting going, fuck, what?
What's going on there? I mean, the Dolphins have been they've been used by so many players to get bigger contracts.
It was always going to happen.
You know, I think it is a really good learning curve for the next club to come through. Is like, if a player agrees, get it writing straight away.
Yeah.
But the problem with that is that doesn't even matter because you don't want a player that doesn't want to be there. I think I guess probably if they did it again, they'd just be more mindful of the fact they may be being used to drive value up.
It's going to be interesting, like if the whole Dolphins thing doesn't work out in the first few years, like it's going to be tough to bring another team in.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if with all of Wayne missing all these targets, if with his England connection he's just about to go whack with a couple of big name signings. I mean, there hasn't been anything about it, but you know, options are getting limited from the NRL, aren't they? So I wonder if he's got there's talks of like Johnny Bateman in talks with the Tigers. I think I saw the other day, just something like that. If he just goes whack with two big ones from the Super.
You know what? It was interesting about the Johnny Bateman Tigers one is I reckon again full tinfoil hat, put her on. No evidence for this whatsoever. I reckon the Tigers intentionally put that out to put a bit of pressure on Papali'i to make him go, hang on a sec, I might fucking lose this massive contract. And because like that Bateman came out the week and a few days later Papali'i confirmed that he's going. I honestly reckon that they fucking did that to put a bit of pressure on Papali'i and go, this contract just isn't sitting here for you. If you want to fucking not commit, we'll whatever.
We'll bring in Johnny boy.
Because like Johnny Bateman back from the...
Oh.
I mean, I'd love it. I would love it. And I tell you what, if there's one player the Tigers need, it'd be a player like Bateman because he's a ripper and tearer. Look what he did at the Raiders. I think that, and look, maybe there's way more to it, but I think that is something the Raiders probably look back on and go, you know what, we probably should have done more to keep. Because like my understanding was that Bateman wanted a longer contract because he wanted to be able to say, look, I've got a long-term contract. I can bring my family over and live with me. The Raiders came back and said, look, we just don't have that money in the cap for you. You know, you're more, because we don't have that money, you're welcome to speak to other clubs. And then he was of the mind of like, you know what, I should just go back to England because my family's already there. My kids are in school, rah. That's my understanding of the situation that had happened. And if that is the case, I wonder whether the Raiders sit there and go, you know what, maybe we could have moved a few things around to keep him. Had you heard anything different or the same?
Yeah, to my knowledge, it's much as anyone else's. It was just a family thing. He had his daughter who'd be, 12 or 13 years old, something over there. Obviously a really hard time to bring them out at that age. When they're younger, not as settled into schools and that, but, pretty pivotal time of her life and the family life. So I think among internal things at the Raiders, it was just family. It was so much of an influence on that. So, no matter what you moved, maybe it wouldn't have made a difference anyway.
Yeah. It's interesting, like the George Williams one, like I thought that was really sad how it happened because at the forefront of that, his wife had just become pregnant, COVID and everything had hit. Like, how can people not understand? Like, I understand he signed a contract and there may be some people out there that would stay and they would allow their partner to go back. But, do we really expect a father to be away from the birth of his child? Like, the support system of a family is so important with children. And they're basically in this country, barely know anyone. For her to have that child during COVID as well, where you can't do anything. I thought it was sad how that all panned out. How there's such a negative public spat about it with, all the... anyway. But yeah, so back to the Roosters. I don't know how we got all the way down there. Fucking hell. Yeah, look, I think they're building nicely and they're a very scary side to be playing over the next few weeks. Now, on to the Cowboys. Are we concerned, boys, with the Cowboys, the performance? They haven't been... I feel like the last 6 weeks, they haven't been where we hoped they would be. Now, they're still top tier, all that kind of stuff, but I just like they've had a lot of points scored on them, whereas before, now it may be the standard of people that they're playing has increased, but I do think last 6 weeks they haven't been as convincing as maybe the period before them. I thought Lewis' try tip-on was amazing. I personally, they went through so much this week as a club. I don't think there's much to really take away from this game. But I will say, like, when you look at the broader scale of things, like not just this week, I think there was a period where they were only averaging like 12 points a game, whereas I think if you actually look at their last 6 weeks, they'd be averaging around the 16 to 20 or something like that. Thoughts, boys?
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned there that maybe other teams are, the few teams that come up against. I mean, they played the Sharks up in North Queensland. They lost that one 26-12. They beat the Tigers. They shouldn't have. They then played the Dragons. They then played Canterbury. They won both of those.
But Canterbury took it to them
yeah, for sure. And then down by the Roosters, like, it really hasn't been a great 6 weeks for them. I mean, if you take out that Tigers win, which they shouldn't have got, all of a sudden we're probably looking at it a little bit differently.
Yeah, and I know people don't like that. They're like, oh, if you didn't win this game or that game, but that genuinely is something you could say.
And fine, don't worry about wins. Look at performance.
Yeah.
They didn't perform well in that game. I don't give a fuck about the result. They didn't perform well.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I am starting to get a little bit nervous about the Cowboys. They play the Warriors this week in North Queensland, then South Sydney, and then they have the Panthers up there. So it'll be interesting to see.
Perfect game for them before finals because it's a tough game you want. You don't want to go into the finals playing, what was it, Dogs? And then...
Warriors and then South.
Warriors and then South. Like, South obviously are decent, but... I reckon Penrith is perfect because it's just a barometer of where you need to be. What do you got there, Manny?
So I just did the maths on what you said. So for the first 14 rounds, they averaged 12 points conceded a game, 12.5. And since then, which is the last 7 weeks, they've averaged 22.5.
Boom. Wow.
I think it should be noted that Origin period would have taken a big whack on this team too. Like, not like they only had a couple of guys that played. They still had a fair few, but they also had... like your Chads, your Dins, all these guys that were coming in and out of Cowboys camp for 5 or 6 weeks. Jordan McLean, Reece Robson, the Reuben Cotter injury. Like, I think injury did make it. I think Origin made it a little bit tough for the Cowboys. Not that I'm not trying to excuse them, but I just think it probably should be noted. It's probably something that Todd Payton's never had to deal with before either. I
think what's going to be interesting is that sometimes when you have these crazy preseasons, and we've all heard about the crazy preseason that the Cowboys had, especially the first crazy preseason, sometimes you can fatigue at the back end of the season. And I'm not saying that that's the case, but like, let's say they go, lost, and then lost first finals. That could be something that they need to look at as a club. Again, to be really clear, they deserve a lot of raps for that preseason because that preseason has put them in the position. But sometimes there's like little things you can tweak. For example, Penrith did it so well in their long runs where they, like, Ivan Cleary came out and was asked, like, how are you keeping these boys up for everything, rah. And he said, we don't rest on the weekend, we rest during the week. So, like, we send guys away for 4 or 5 days. And so I wonder if it is the case that they are feeling a bit flat or fatigued, again, I don't know if it is, but if it is the case, maybe they can look into that going forward next year of like resting certain players in certain periods.
Well, mate, that's where I wonder if that, if over the next 3 games, if they will rest a couple of players at some point.
Well, are they guaranteed a top 4 spot though?
They're not.
So they're on 32. So would you, let's say they win next game, would you rest them at least for 1 game?
I'd seriously consider resting them for the Rabbitohs or the Panthers game, especially if they play the Panthers and they rest a heap of their guys too.
I don't see the Panthers. Do you think the Panthers will rest guys?
I don't know. I know we keep saying, the Panthers, they didn't do it last year, they didn't. But, surely the more and more years that go on, the more and more footy they have to play, you start to consider it, don't you?
I don't know. They've already had that rest, though. They've already had that rest where they rested a bunch of boys. I don't think they do. I think they play. I think because they've already got Cleary, Luai are out. Martin will probably be out. I don't know if they'll rest anyone. But the Cowboys, for example, if I was to rest some, it would be the Rabbitohs game. And if we lost, whatever. As long as they win the Warriors game.
I'll just say, though, the Cowboys will be desperate for a home final.
Yeah.
So they might not rest anyone.
So if they win the Warriors, if they win against the Warriors, they go to 34 points, where it's almost like, Storm could go on to win. It all depends on what happens next week, really.
But what I'm saying is the Sharks are on the same amount of points. And if the Sharks go second and the Cowboys go third, they have to go down to Sydney in week 1 of the finals.
Yeah, they won't be able to rest because of that reason.
Okay, yeah, you're right. My bad. Wow.
And without coming back to it again, if they didn't have that 2 points in the Tigers game, if the Sharkies lose a home final off the back of that, they'll be filthy.
But I think Fitzgibbon is such a...
Yeah, he'll deal with it, but
with it.
Internally you'd be...
Yeah, you'd be absolutely.
Off.
Well, the good thing is, though, that they're now on equal points. So, what's Sharks run home? Have you got Sharks run home? Soft as anything?
Manly this week, which is the toughest by a mile. But, we saw what they dished out on Sunday. And then Bulldogs and Knights.
Yes,
Bulldogs in Cronulla, Knights at Newcastle.
So Sharkies could have a home...
Big chance.
Ooh. I tell you what, we spoke about last week. They just been swimming along. Just fucking cruising. Okay. Sorry, back to the Cowboys. Yeah. So, as I think Timmy, what do you think about the Cowboys?
Just the big one that stood out for me, statistically speaking, was the metres of the pack. Cohen Hess, 30 metres. Ruben Cotter, 108. The back rowers, Gilbert and Nanai had 45 and 41 metres, and then Taumalolo had 70 metres. Now, McLean came off the bench back from injury. He was 100. That was solid. And Luciano Leilua, 141. But the metres of the starting pack, they're horrific.
Do you think it has a lot to do with the emotional drain the week had on them? Maybe.
I don't know.
Yeah, don't
maybe.
Know. I think it was always going to be a tough game for them. Greeny is such a big part of that club. There's numerous players and coaching staff that you'd just be hurting, man. Yeah. Fuck, you'd be hurting. You'd be fucking hurting. So, yeah, it by itself, guys, I wouldn't look into this Cowboys fan. To be honest, 30-18 against a Roosters team that's hitting peak form at home, that's not too bad. It really is. And they also had some really tough calls. For example, take away the Verrills try, because that was outrageous, absolutely outrageous. You're looking at 28-18. It's not bad, not bad at all. Sure. So nothing, not alarm stages.
There's even some of those the pass that Victor Radley threw that floater 99 times out of 100 that wouldn't happen to you. Radley's just a freak to be able to see that in that split.
It's kind of they score tries by being incredible rather than a lacking of the Cowboys. Yeah.
If your lock forward can pick out the 3 defenders wide who's shooting in that split second and float it to your winger, I think
good
I can
on
wear it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you're totally right. So look, Cowboys, I think it's just amazing what they've achieved this year. I really do. So good. And Tuolangi's try, oh, fuck. What a beast. How good was that? So what I loved about the Cowboys' performance is that their tries were so impressive. That Leilua tip on, one hand, a big boy like that, so good. And then a Tuolangi, he just goes, oh, Sam Walker, there you are. You've got a chance to tackle me. Let's see if you can do it. Fucking boss. He hit him so hard that he hit Tedesco.
He used him as a shield pretty much, yeah.
Fuck me. Tuolangi, what a great story his year. He's had such a good year. Cowboys fans, I think that it's all good. Again, the only I guess negative can be if you look at that 6 to 7 week period, they have looked less dominant in defence than they have in the past. But I do think they can turn it around. Who knows? Maybe we do find a Storm as well. Leading into finals footy, they really load their training. And sometimes Storm teams get a bit flat just before finals, and it's because their training load is so heavy. And so the Cowboys could be doing that right now, where they're just training them really hard so that as soon as just before they hit finals, they really back off and they get this kind of springboard into finals. Rabbitohs do it, like they struggle all year, then they get to finals and they're fucking incredible.
The only guy we didn't mention there, who I thought he was really good on the weekend, Ruben Cotter, once again.
When is he not good?
He's
Seriously.
never going to play a bad game.
Yeah,
Like,
he's just. But to come back from the injury and the hamstring, and he's not missing a beat.
Mate. Like, he wasn't even in a lot of our fucking 13. He wasn't even in the starting 13 for a lot of our Cowboys, packs. Now, I know, we probably had him, like, were you super convinced that he was in the starting side? Like, you had him there because you were a fan of him.
I was in my team, but I wasn't convinced Todd Payton was going to have him there.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. Like, it wasn't like this guy that, we had, like, that everyone had these huge raps on and we knew he was going to bounce onto this. Like,
if he wasn't there, you would have gone, okay.
Yeah, okay, he's off the bench.
Yeah. I would have done it, but I get it.
Yeah. I'd go as far as say is if he came out and played poorly and ended up in reserve grade this year, I don't think people would have been shocked because we hadn't been given an opportunity with all the injuries had to see how great he was. That's how far he's come in a short span of time. You could argue he's the most reliable player in the comp at the moment, or at least one of the most reliable players. Incredible what he's managed to do this year. Now, onto the Sharkies, Tigers, or Tigers versus Sharks. I thought this was a great win by the Sharkies. I thought this was a really you could see the difference in levels. I thought that they turned up. They didn't seem complacent. How about that quote earlier in the week where Toby Rudolph said that Craig Fitzgibbon does an hour and a half of jiu-jitsu the day of the game, so he feels like he's earned the right to be able to tell the boys. And I saw a few comments going, what do you mean? He's an ex-player. He's, of course he's earned the right. It's his job. And it's like, yeah, but you don't get the mindset of the elite like him. He has to prove it to himself, not just yesteryear, every day. That's why and you know what? That's why the Sharks have been so good this year.
Well, I had him on my podcast 2 years or so ago, and there were so many things he said that looking back now, I'm just like, fuck, can't believe that didn't hit me more. I remember we're talking about like before he played in, I think 5 grand finals in 6 years or 4 in 5 or something like that. I remember talking about like nerves before the game, and he sort of said, oh, no, I was never nervous, but like my number one fear was just exhaustion. And I said, what do you mean? And he sort of went, just that fear of being on absolute empty just used to rattle me, but I used to love it.
Yeah, wow. Interesting. So the fear of being on empty is
just
if he hadn't prepared?
Empty and just having nothing left in your body and being out in the field, but he's like, that was my fear, but it was also my aim of where to get to.
Yeah,
just
wow.
Mindset was just something else.
Well, when you go deeper into that, you're like, then he's training, he's constantly putting himself in that environment. And so by the time he gets to game day, he's comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow. What a beast. What a fucking beast. Now, on to the Sharkies. Great win. Seriously, great win. Hines, I thought, was outstanding. I thought Dykes was really good. I didn't mind Lockie Miller on the wing. I still reckon Lockie Miller is putting a bit of pressure on Dykes for that fullback spot if Kennedy isn't there. I will say Kennedy... Dykes, he's young, obviously. Like, he's going to improve. But I do think you can see the difference between the slick ball playing of Kennedy and a Dykes. Again, that is understandable. That's expected. But, yeah, I thought Dykes was really good. I thought, Jesse Ramian, I just want to give him a massive rap. Like, I feel like this year, it's really bizarre how some players we get on the hype train and we get behind, and then some players, they just go about their business, rack up these incredible, years, and they don't get the same, I guess, raps that they did a couple of years ago. Mate, I thought the Sharkies were fantastic. What did you guys think of the Sharkies?
Yeah, I think considering the guys that were missing, from that back line, you had Ikavalu playing, you had Dykes playing, you had Miller playing, like 3 out-and-out stars that were missing. We said it all year, just their depth is crazy. Like, I don't even think Ikavalu's a centre and he looked great there. I don't think Lockie Miller's a winger, he looked great there. And just plug these guys anywhere, and that's without, Connor Tracy, who might be the most versatile bloke in the competition as far as outside backs. So forwards are really good. I thought our boy Royce Hunt, he was very strong once again.
Royce the choice.
Very good game. It looks like Toby Rudolph's going to be out for a couple of weeks with an injury, so Royce is going to be very important over the next couple of weeks.
I wrote literally in my notes, great try, Royce Hunt. I think over the next 2 seasons, he might become one of the game's most improved forwards. I reckon he's not even close to his potential, and he's beginning to reach his potential.
He's got like Andrew Fafita sort of qualities about him. The way that he runs, the way that he bumps, the way that he has got this big engine. Like he can play for a lot more minutes than what they've been using him to, just because they've got the depth that they don't need to. But yeah, I think over the next few weeks, I think we'll be talking about Royce Hunt a lot.
Mate, I think he's really good. I'll tell you what else. I'll tell you what wasn't good. That sin bin was outrageous.
Oh.
That was one of the most outrageous sin bins I've ever seen. And the crazy thing is it wasn't even the ref's split call that did it. The bunker watched that and gave it, like, either said down to him 10 in the bin or whatever. How can anyone watch that and think he can pull out of that tackle?
Even in super, super slow motion, it didn't even seem late.
It literally, because in super slow-mo, you can see he's already committed as Laurie turns his back. It just makes... How can you watch that and say that that's the defender's fault?
As soon as you get out the slow-mo, you know you're trying to convince yourself of something.
Didn't they go back a few tackles as well? I'm pretty sure they went back
I
a few
think so.
tackles.
That's what I mean. It was the bunker, I think, that tipped him up. Like, I cannot for the life of me understand, like, what is he supposed to do there? Not tackle the guy with the ball?
Especially the play that it was. Like, he was turning under. The ball was in a blind spot for the defender. Like, if he holds it and goes, it's a missed tackle and he scores.
100%. If he goes, oh, shit, I better not tackle you because you might turn around. Absolutely bizarre. Like, anyway. Timmy, what do you think about this game?
Yeah, Sharkies very dominant. They did everything they need to do. The Tigers didn't show up too much, I don't think. But, I mean, the Sharks ran for 500 more metres in this one, which is very dominant. We spoke last week about how poor their completion rate was, and we just thought, you know, with their expansive brand of footy that they play, very attacking, love to move the ball, if they can complete at a high rate, like, again, sky's the limit because they can put points on for fun. Completed at 83%, scored 36 points. I think that's no surprise there. So the challenge will be now, if they can complete at that rate in the bigger games come finals time.
And it's as we discussed earlier, like they still have Kennedy in that to come back. Like we give all these other teams a pass for like missing key players. Like they're missing 3 of their key players from their backline that have such a big role.
They have Moylan still too.
Matty Moylan's gone, and they're still doing stuff like this. And people say, oh, it's against the Tigers, but they did exactly what they're expected to do. They won 36-12, and the Tigers never looked in the game.
And as poor as the Tigers were, it's still the same side that almost beat the Cowboys and beat the Broncos a couple of weeks ago. Like there's a football side in there.
Absolutely.
As Guru said, there aren't many easy games to win at an NRL level. Like you've got to do something right.
Yep. I will say this though. I think Nakoro's line running has got to be top 3 in the game, minimum. Fuck, he hits that line perfectly, and that like building up a relationship with his half, whether it's Hine, Trindle, or Moylan, it's just getting better and better. I remember when Britton first come in the grade, and he kind of just burst onto the scene, and we're all sitting there going, fuck, this kid could be anything. Like almost like a little bit smaller Boyd Corner, a real fucking tough hard line runner, tough defender, and just love to get amongst it. And then a little bit quiet for a year or two, but he's, again, like Fitzgibbon and the coaching staff there deserve such a big rap because all of these boys are probably playing career best footy. Like, and that shows good coaching. Like how to get all 17 playing arguably career best footy outside of maybe Fafita, but Fafita is like he's not injured, sorry, but he's older and his body's.
But he's still playing his role perfectly.
Exactly. Yeah. Outside of that, like they're all playing arguably career best footy. Nakora's lines are incredible.
Along with everyone that comes in as well.
The beauty as well of because they're sitting so high at the ladder, they've had a few injuries to the pack in and out. Not a lot at the one time in the pack, but it's allowed them to sit. Andrew Fafita, should I say, and give him weeks off. He didn't play on the weekend. He sat him at a couple of different stages this season, not because he hasn't wanted him in his 17. He's like, let's not push him. Like we're not scraping to make the 8 and play finals footy. We're in a position to do it, and it's only going to benefit them come first week of finals.
Like, they've still got that hooker sitting there, Jaden Beryl, and most fans wouldn't even know it.
Yeah, and he was like signed as, we might need a hooker this year and then Brayley has just gone to another level this year. Fuck, his service is so good. He's so consistent. Doesn't get the raps he deserves. The Sharkies, seriously, the only concern I have for the Sharkies is they might walk into that para territory where a lot of clubs start poaching players because they sit in the, that 3rd or 4th or 2nd to 5th, and like they create these superstars. Like a guy like Mulatalo or even Katoa, like last year were good, really good wingers, but they didn't have the hype around them. This year, they're starting to be compared to the best wing combinations in the competition. And so the hard thing for the Sharks is they're going to get rated. Like they're absolutely going to get rated by other clubs.
But the positive for them is that, you know, similar to the other good clubs, they've shown they've got the depth to be able to cover if they do get rated.
Oh, for sure. For
They'll
sure.
be right, mate. They living in the Shire, God's country, going to take a lot of money to make a move.
Just on that, they got 2 players in the top 50 of this list, and that's Andrew Fafita, who's definitely getting downgraded, and Wade Graham, who like he's like at the end of his career.
That's what I was even saying. Like after they went on their recruitment run last year, I said the scary thing for the Sharks is next year they're going to have, 1.2 million sitting there in the cap. Like they're not even done yet. They could go out and buy $1 million player next year. They're in such a strong position. I think the club is in a real strong position, isn't it? They bought all that real estate or whatever. I think we're witnessing the birth of a powerhouse.
And even if even if they were to lose Fafita and Wade Graham and not buy anyone and just reinvest in the guys they've got,
they got it easy.
Like if Wade Graham is out, Teague Wooten will come in and he will do a job
easily.
They'll be okay.
100%.
If Fafita is out, they've got all these guys in reserve grade that can come in and do a job.
The only thing they might lose is a little bit of leadership, but I feel like they're developing. They've got Dale there. Moylan's been around for a while now. Yeah. McInnes off the bench.
They're not short on leaders,
Mate, McInnes off the bench. Fuck, he's been good. How a club can get. I mean, not to dig the boot into the Dragons, but yeah. Anyway, we'll move on. A guy like McInnes for me.
No, we won't. Hold on.
But I mean, am I crazy or what, boys?
Yeah, no, I agree.
Am I crazy or what? Yeah. He is the heart and soul of a club.
And he was their hooker, and the year before that, they made the decision, don't need Reece Robson.
And also, he was literally like a millimetre away. When Cookie was getting brought into the New South Wales side, he was a millimetre. It was between Cookie and McInnes. People forget that. Like, he was that close to Origin. And it makes... Anyway. Apologies, Dragons fans. Apologies. You got a stray bullet there. Hey, look, we got rid of Reece Walsh, so what can I say? We've done it as well as the Broncos. Now, on to... So, yeah, really exciting times with the Sharkies, and I genuinely believe we might be witnessing the next big club. Now, I'm not saying that they'll go on to be the Storm or whatever, but I think that if they're not playing for a premiership in the next 2 to 3 years, I'll be fucking very surprised.
I think in them, I think they're giving it a shake this year.
Oh, for sure. But like I'm saying, it's like an expectation. You know, like this year it's like, how good, we did it, rah. Next year and the year after, it's like, no, we should literally be in the finals going against the best teams. In the grand final going against the other best team. Now, on to the Tigers. Some positives. I think Brown has been a real good find for them. I really do. He just has a knack for finding the try line. And sometimes he goes when he shouldn't go, but he's still finding the try line quite often. Adam Dewey tried his heart out, as he does every single week. I really think they're missing Hastings, but I get the feeling out of the Tigers that maybe Hastings isn't their man. That's the feeling I'm getting. I might go as far to say I don't know if Hastings will even be at the club next year. That's again, no evidence, but like they haven't locked him up or extended him, and I get I feel like he would want to extend. Adam Dewey, I think he comes off contract next year. I'm not understanding like that. I feel like they're treading water a little bit, and they haven't committed to who they're going forward with first. Like there's part of me that thinks that some people at the club think that Brooks is the future, and then there's other people that think no, we need to go in a new direction. Where do you see the direction? Do you agree Hastings might be there, not be there next year?
I definitely think there's a really good chance he won't be there next year. I think there's a good chance Brooks won't be there next year either. I wouldn't be surprised if neither of them there. I said this a few weeks ago. I think the Tigers, either they're trying to work out which one they want, or they're trying to work out which one will stay. I think that would be more the worry for me.
I mean,
which one is willing to stay?
But surely Hastings would be like. He seems like he fucking loves that club. Or like as in,
Yeah, but I also think Jacko would walk into any club and do whatever he could for them. That's the sort of personality he is now.
like, okay, put it this way. Do you think if they said, you're our 7, you're playing 7, that he would stay?
Potentially, but they're definitely not saying that to him, which is fucking crazy. It's wild.
And so the only thing that makes sense to me is they know that him playing 13 is going to make him move on. I don't know. It doesn't make... Timmy, what do you reckon?
I don't know what the Tigers are thinking, and I'm not going to do myself the disservice of trying to work out what they're going on in their minds because they're mad. But I would love it to be Jackson Hastings and Adam Doueihi in the halves next year. I just don't...
Seems so obvious.
It seems so obvious. Luke Brooks, I'm sorry, but he's been there for 10 years or something. They haven't played finals footy. So if you think he's the answer, I think it's time to part ways. And I think it's the best for both parties where Brooks can potentially thrive elsewhere. I think we've seen it 2 weeks ago with great performances against the Cowboys and the Broncos in particular, where Hastings was at lock, basically playing as another half, and Adam Doueihi was at 5'8". They just looked excellent, and you saw we got excited for the Tigers. And then 2 weeks without Jackson Hastings there, Dewey's looked a shell of himself. He tries and tries, but I like him being given a bit of a license to play football and not have to worry about managing the game and getting him around the park. And without Hastings, and to a lesser degree, without Brooks there now, he's struggled the past 2 rounds. So we spoke about it 2 weeks ago, but going to next year, if you had Doueihi at 6, Hastings at 7, you bring in Papali'i, Api Coruscant, geez, you've got a footy side you can work with there. So if it's anything less than that, I'll be so disappointed for them.
Just another one, and I know it's not the Tigers' fault, but it's so fitting. They let go of Oliver Gildart last week. You know, he scored 5 tries in reserve grade this weekend.
No way.
North Sydney, they won by 60 points. He scored the first, the last, and 3 in between.
Oh, fuck. I don't get it. Like,
If
who's
Oliver
going to play?
Gildart was at the Tigers this week, he wouldn't be getting picked.
Yeah, no.
They wouldn't be looking at him.
No way. Who's going to be their 7 next year then? If Brooks isn't the guy and Hastings isn't the guy, like, it just doesn't make... Tim Sheens obviously has a plan, so maybe they're bringing someone in, but I'm just really surprised. I don't know what the direction is, and it looks so obvious. The Hastings Doueihi combination excites me.
Yeah.
It excites me. I go, fuck. They're both crazy winners. Like, they'll win at all costs. And then you throw in Api Coruscant around the ruck there with a Papali'i on the edge.
Well, that's the thing. If they can't convince them to be there when they've got Appy coming,
Something's going on.
like...
And, like, why haven't they... And, like, even Adam Doueihi wanted to go down to the Storm to experience it. David Nofaluma, he said no comment, but when they asked him, you know, well, do you want to stay at the Storm? He laughed and said no comment. Mate, I just...
To be fair, if I was the Tigers, I wouldn't let Adam Doueihi go down there.
Well,
He wouldn't come back.
yeah.
He'd be sitting on the porch for a long time.
But then, like, extend him.
yeah.
Like, give him a big contract. Like, you know, give him the contract that Brooks pretty much has. Anyway, so, look, yeah, the Tigers... I think Api Coruscant will change a lot there, though.
Yes.
He will attract people. He's so fucking skillful. Do you play Papali'i on the edge or in the middle? Because I kind of feel like they need him in the middle.
Yeah, I think they need him in the middle, unfortunately.
Um,
In saying that, they're losing Garner. They've already lost Leilua. They are going to be short an edge. So,
Yeah.
But I think they need him through the middle. Just on that halfback thing. Wouldn't it be a good little rugby league narrative to see Mitchell Pearce come back and finish it at the club that his dad did?
yeah, that would be cool. Another thing as well, Jock Madden, apparently Penrith are about to sign him, so they'll lose him as well.
All right.
Oh, my God.
Oh, yeah, the good stuff. Yeah, sorry, Tigers fans. I just think you're missing Hastings. I really do. If Hastings isn't in this side, it's a different side. It really is. Now, on to...
Imagine if they lose Jock Madden, who's going to take an opportunity just to sit behind Cleary and Luai instead of being the 7 for...
Mate, bizarre.
It's tough.
Just before we get to Brisbane, bit of breaking news, and it's not official yet, but Buzz Rothfield is reporting that Zach Hosking has signed with the Panthers.
Oh, no, you've broken his heart, Matty.
Fuck. He's so good. No wonder he hasn't been playing. Fuck. Because I was like, what the fuck? He played so good in his first 2 games. Oh, no. Oh, well. You win some, you lose some.
Be good to win some more, though.
Fuck. He's so good.
It has been weird that he hasn't got a gig the last few weeks.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Mate, he was our best, like, oh well. That's what happens. That's rugby league for you. That's rugby league. Oh, that hurts.
That'll be a good battle between him and Garner now.
Hurts me heart. I'm going from, like, Garner has a ton of potential, and if he kicks on, but Hosting's in that system with what he's shown in the first few games.
I'm going Garner.
Going
I
Garner.
like him.
Fucking hell. That hurts, man. That hurts. Oh, well.
What a good story, though, to come from. Like, he's a little bit older, isn't he, Hosking?
No, I think he's a young, like 21, 22, I think.
Okay.
Look, to be fair, like, Ricky's potential is through the roof. No, he didn't have the best game on the weekend, for sure, no doubting that. But we all know the potential's there. It's just about getting it all together.
Zach Hosting's 25.
He's 25.
He's floated around Cup for a couple of years, so a good story for him to...
That eases my pain a little bit then. That eases my pain. I thought he was a young 21, 22-year-old. Okay, yeah, well, fair enough. Like, good on him. Fucking good on him for getting that contract. Come in first grade, played really well, got the contract. Good on him. Yeah, I can understand that decision from the Broncos. Like, let's say they had to choose between Ricky and Hoskins. Like, Ricky is still quite young. How old? Can you please get how old Ricky is? 21? Again, I didn't think he had the best game on the weekend, but I think his potential is through the roof.
22.
Yeah, so still quite young. Anyway, let's get into this Broncos Knights game. I'm going to sound like a Debbie Downer. Wasn't impressed. I thought I was pretty disappointed with this performance.
Nobody likes a Debbie Downer.
Yeah, I was a bit disappointed with this from the Broncos. Like, yeah, they eventually ran away with it, but I thought that they... Like, Cobbo made 5 errors. Like, he scored 3 tries, but he made 5 errors. And that's where we're getting the concern is, like, that's what Cobbo was doing, you know, when he was struggling a little bit with form. And the concern for me is like that 3 tries is going to mask. As an NRL player, you can't be making 5 errors. He's such a hard person to judge because he is so incredible. Like, the tries he scores, some of the runs he has are just electrifying. So I thought that was a bit disappointing that there was 5 errors. Look, a win's a win. A win's a win. But it was just how he got the win that I was a bit disappointed for, because the 28-10 doesn't really reflect how close the game was, in my opinion. 69% completion rate. Just not that great. But a win's a win, so that's great for us. The problem is we play the Storm this week. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's the Storm. And that's going to be a tough game.
It is at Suncorp. Yep.
And so hopefully if we just take the confidence from the win and we focus on the good stuff and we bring that to the Storm, we can absolutely take it to them. But yeah, just a little bit disappointing. Like, we didn't. If we want to be a premiership threat, we need to just put those games convincingly away instead of running away from them. Some positive. Tamada Martin was outstanding. He was so silky at the back there. I thought Corey Oates was absolutely outstanding. I thought Adam Reynolds' kicking game was, back to nearly its best. Maybe not its best, but close to. Outside of that, I didn't mind Ryan James starting at 13 to just toughen up that middle third a little bit. Payne Haas was amazing, like absolutely amazing. Flegler was a little bit quiet. He only ran for 75 metres. Ezra Mam, outside of the error that he had, was electrifying in attack, 141 metres. I thought Hoyter did a real good job, 22 tackles, 0 misses in the centres.
Brento come back in for him this week or not?
I don't know.
It was only listed as missing out due to it was calf or hammy tightness or something.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a pretty big decision to make.
They tend to hang around for a bit with Branko, though. When he's injured, he tends to miss a couple of weeks.
Yeah,
so
okay.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I thought Hoyter did quite a good job. 22 tackles, 0 misses. Like, that's pretty good. I will say Kurt Catewell, missed tackles are getting quite... he must be injured. He really must be injured, because I kind of feel like... I felt like defensively he was a bit better last year at the Panthers. So I think we need to tighten that up a little bit. But look, a win's a win. We came away 13 plus in the end. I thought the Knights actually didn't play that poorly at all. I thought their first probably 60 was quite good. But yeah, I thought the Broncos, it's great we got the win, but if we want to be a top tier side, there's quite a few things we've got to clean up. And I think that if there's ever needed more evidence of how important Paddy Carrigan is to this side, like you could even go as far to say he's almost number one priority to re-sign. Like I'll put the question to you. Payne Haas wants 800K. Paddy Carrigan wants 800K, and you can only choose one. Who are you choosing?
Fuck.
That's fucking tough, eh?
It's so tough.
But it shows you how far
I'm
Paddy's
kind of
come.
leaning to Paddy now, to be honest with you.
It shows you how far he's come. What do you reckon, Timmy?
Yeah, I mean, if we're talking straight football, it's like it's got to be Payne Haas.
Yeah.
But like I particularly go on so often about club culture and how important it is to have these leaders and just good blokes that you want to play for you around. And Pat Carrigan is the epitome of this. We've seen it time and time again this year. And just the present, and that's not a knock on Payne Haas. It's a credit to Pat Carrigan. So I think his presence at the club is probably more important in terms if you had to pick one of them. So yeah, I'd go Pat Carrigan. And
Which is
I feel crazy saying
exactly. Payne's in a.
Sorry, I'd go Haas by the length of the street.
Would you?
I've got to disagree. He's
that much?
he's a generational front rower. He's probably going to be the best front rower of all time. If I'm throwing 800K at either of them, I'm definitely giving it to Haas. Carrigan's awesome, but yeah, for me,
I think you've just let a Queensland captain lead the Broncos.
Yeah, Australian captain.
But like, imagine if Haas was missing on the weekend.
We've won games with like Haas
You're
missing.
all right without him. Haas is a better footballer.
Oh, for
but
sure.
When you bring in the whole package,
The only thing is like, so last year Paddy does his ACL, and you know Haas was incredible last year, but there's only so much a front rower can do. There's only so much a front rower can do. Whereas I kind of feel like if Paddy, let's say we had a year without Paddy and a year without Payne, which year would we go worse? I don't know. It's a tough one. It's a real tough one. I think we can all agree, footy players, like as a footy player, you're going to Payne Haas, like he's a freak. But in terms of like being able to get the boys up in the changing room and like all of that stuff, like Paddy is crucial to that club going forward.
that video of him on field earlier this year, of him just talking like that takes out a few extra running meets and tackles and whatnot. Like that is worth so much to a team on the
Mate,
field.
he was in game one Origin in a Queensland jersey in the changing room doing these ones. And he's pretty much like, I don't know, was it his debut? Debut. He's doing these ones in Queensland. Like he was so good that Cam Smith was literally like, I genuinely could see him eventually, potentially captaining in the state.
For sure.
It's a tough situation. If I'm being totally honest, I actually think Payne Haas most likely won't be at the club next year.
Next year, you reckon?
Yeah, I reckon he's going to sign a big deal with somewhere else. And I think that the Broncos are probably going to be resigned because another report came out like that they're going to have to make a decision soon. I mean, it's not news to it's not news to anyone. Like it's open that he wants a bigger contract. And so I think Broncos are facing the decision of we either sign Paddy and Flegler and we lose Haas, or we sign Haas and we lose Paddy and Flegler.
I'm sure he'd love a swim at Bondi Beach, Payne.
Oh, mate. Yeah, and again, that's not me having a crack at Payne at all. I just think that he probably can get $1 million somewhere else, a 5-year, $1 million a year deal. And I don't know how you keep Paddy, Flegler, and Haas in this because they're all, you know, Flegler looks like he's going to develop into a 600, probably a 700K front rower. In my opinion, that's where I see his ceiling at. Paddy is going to be the captain, like pretty much lock that in right now. The only thing I hope is that Paddy can talk to Payne and Flegler and be like, boys, if we just take a little bit less together, because like the thing with Payne, like all he has to do, I mean, it's easy to say, but like if he takes 800 instead of $1 million, we can keep this pack together. But it's easy for me to say that's his money. But it just shows you how far, like it's interesting because if you imagine putting Payne in the forward pack of like Roosters, Penrith, Storm, even the Sharkies, like fuck, he would kill it. He would kill
Storm's got to be the one, don't they?
I reckon. Roosters?
Oh, yeah, you can never rule them out. But just showed the Storm with all the people coming off and, you know, even having a look at that list. Like Jesse Bromwich was that. It's obviously a back-ended deal, but him leaving next year.
He's on 1.1 or 1.05.
Could you shift that straight to Haas?
You definitely could. And they haven't really aggressively gone into the market. The only thing is with the Roosters is that like Sonny Bill connection. Like Sonny Bill, I think, does communicate with Payne quite a bit.
Who's like Takiaho's leaving?
Hargreaves
let
will
Lodge
probably
go at any moment.
Sorry?
They could let Matt Lodge go.
Yeah,
at
and apparently
any
he's on like 900. But Warriors are probably paying most of that.
Yeah, Roosters are only paying 100 of that.
Okay. So so Takiaho's gone,
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure he's going to Super League.
He is, yeah.
and so what Hargreaves would have to retire pretty much.
Getting a year older, yeah.
Interesting. You know, yeah. Wow.
I think it's hard for Roosters, especially if they've signed Crichton as well. Re-signed Crichton.
A lot of money. God. Going to Payne House on top of all that.
Yeah.
We just spoke it earlier.
It's just like if they've already come out and said they want more money, how do Brisbane keep him when they just can't afford to? Like they just can't.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to the performance. Look, got a win for sure. Jordan. Look, I think just bringing him off the bench for a few weeks would just help his.
Ricky.
Yeah, Jordan Ricky. I just bring him off the bench for a couple of weeks and just say, mate, I just want you to rip and tear for like I would. If I was a coach, I would sit him down and be like, mate, you're here for however long you want to be here. You're a part of the club. We see you as a key person going forward. But just take a step back to take 2 steps forwards, I think. Because at the moment, playing 80 minutes, he does have it. Even though defensively he was actually quite really good, he just seems to sometimes get fatigued and he makes those little fatigue mistakes. And I feel like if he's coming off the bench, he's not going to get fatigued. He can impact it. But as I said, we got the win. That's great. I'm surprised Kobe Hetherington doesn't get more minutes. I would actually have him starting. It really does surprise me. Corey Pakes, I think his impact off the bench when we were going really well was good. So I think that although we won, there may still be some changes that come in. But I thought Tamate Martin was fantastic. Obviously, Payne Haas, as always. Is he like the most consistent footy player ever? Like, when do you ever see him play poorly?
I'll tell you the other, just a play that I thought went underappreciated. That pass that Martin threw to Ezra Mam at top speed around his body, to get that right,
Mate, so silky.
Unbelievable.
So silky. It's honestly, watching him play made me go, ooh, why did we get rid of him? We didn't get rid of him, but and I understand Reece Walsh is a superstar, but, oh, man, Tamate Martin, he's special, man.
2 line break assists, 2 try assists. He was...
You could tell that, we looked so silky, when he was involved in the plays in attack. What do you think about the Broncos, Timmy?
Yeah, I mean, 2 ways of looking at it. They were definitely unconvincing, but at the same time, they had 47% possession. They said completed at 69%. So with those numbers behind you and to still, put on 28 points, but only concede 10 points, it's pretty encouraging. It's like, well, if they do get the completions up a little bit better, and credit to yourself and to Kevy Walters calling on the Tamari Martin thing, because when you mentioned it, I think it was last week, I was like, maybe a little bit harsh on Tessie New, but, you could be right, just lacked that bit of class. Well, it showed straight away, didn't it? Tamari back in at fullback, just so much more polish on the end of the back line. So it was a big call to make from Kevy, but it was completely justified, and you look a lot better in attack.
Yeah, he's good. What do you reckon? Any changes you'd make? What did you feel about the Broncos' performance?
Yeah, I think you guys summed it up pretty well. Not your greatest performance, but...
Got it done?
Good teams play shit and win.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. As I said, there are a few key things that I think we really need to improve. 69% completion is just we have to be better than that. But a win's a win. We need to go in next week and we need to... Put it this way. If we completed 85% completion... all of a sudden, it's probably a much bigger store. And so, could have been anything.
Fuck both of you. Let's continue.
Now, Knights. Thoughts on the Knights, boys? Thoughts on the Knights. And we'll be quick here, guys, because we don't want to repeat ourselves constantly and just dig the boot in. But I'm concerned about the Knights as a club. Yes. As in, not as their existence, but just as for so much hope over the last couple of years, a few key decisions, and now we're sitting here going, what's going to happen next year.
And you get a vibe that it's not quite over yet. You feel like there's just little issues that are popping up Monday to Friday that feel like they aren't resolved yet. So it kind of, they play the Raiders this week, then they got the Titans up there in the Gold Coast, who we'll talk about them in a minute. I thought they played pretty well yesterday. Then they got the Sharks as well. Like I'm kind of chalking Newcastle up to go 0-3 to finish the season there. I don't think they'll beat any of those sides, to be honest with you.
Wow.
They're playing the Titans. Like, if Titans played Newcastle today, who would you back in?
I thought the Titans were good for 60 minutes. Yep. I really did. Sorry, not the Titans. The Knights were good for 60 minutes. But you're right. It'll be a close match for sure.
Yeah, I'm really worried about them. It's becoming a little bit alarming up there. Because once again, you look at them on paper and you go, why are you so shit? Makes no sense.
Well, you go Saifidi brothers up front. One made 153 metres, another made 176 metres. Like, it's a great. And then you got Braylon at 9, who's a gun.
He was great. I thought he was good.
You got Bradman Best, who's, was literally like a smoky for Origin a couple of years ago. Dane Gagai, we all know how great he is. Yeah, like, the thing is, I think it's becoming clearer by the day. It's not the roster that is the issue. It's clearly standards that they're setting, day in, day out. What do you reckon, Timmy?
Yeah, look, boys, anything that I said would just be repeating what we've said for months and months about the Knights now, so I don't have anything to add to that. Like, I love the club. I love the supporter base, how loyal they are to them, but it'd just be dwelling on negatives that just frustrate me about what they're producing on field at the moment. So,
yeah.
What do you do with Milford? He's not going to be there next year. Do you give Phoenix Crossland 3 games in the half, see what he can do?
The problem is like, I'm not even convinced that Phoenix is considered their next up in line.
Yeah, he's probably not, but fuck, what do you, like, Jack Clifford's injured, do you...
What's like, kind of like, well, what's the point? Like honestly, whoever they have identified as their new young gun 7, even if he's 18 years old, I'm playing him.
Just get him game time.
Yeah, just get him game time. Surely they've got someone in their top squad that's a gun schoolboy 7.
If they didn't, though, would it surprise you?
Surely. No, there's no way. There's no way. They've got to have at least a half in there.
Then why'd they go and buy Clifford and Clune and
Well,
Milford?
Clifford and Clune played at NRL. I'm talking about a guy that's come out of school. It's probably his first year in first grade training. I would seriously just bring him in and go, mate, get these 3 games. This doesn't mean you're going to be starting next year, but get these 3 games and see how you go.
I think that kid was Pizzette, and I think he's playing for Melbourne.
Yeah, they've got to have someone. There's just no way, because what that means that they've got is Phoenix Crossland the only 7 that they've got, and they don't really seem to back him. He's been playing 9. Yeah, I would seriously, I'd be very shocked if they didn't have a young gun coming out of school.
Yeah, the only other ball player in there 30 as it stands right now was Sasagi, who they're playing at lock and centre at the moment. So hopefully there's a kid that they can bring up through the grades, but off the dome, I don't think their cup and everything have done too well over the last.
What about this bloke? He's a half. Can you tell us more about him?
No, I don't know who he is. Sorry.
Can you try?
You're a dickhead. Proceed.
Who is it?
I just can't pronounce the last name.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Give me a crack. I've ruined them all the time.
Is it Mapalangi?
Here we go, boys. Christian Mapalangi. Mapalangi? Christian Mapalangi.
5'8".
5'8". Mate, honestly.
Get him in.
Just get him in, seriously.
I think he's been 18th man a little bit for him, hasn't he? He might have
seriously?
Been,
Can you check his age, please?
19.
Mate, there he is. In. Honestly, I'm being serious. Just fucking put him in. What is the point of playing Milford? Like, unless you're trying to avoid the spoon. But it's like, at this point, you've won it that many times before. Okay, now to the next game. Absolute robbery, this one. Absolute robbery.
Was that justice?
Got him. No. You know what's crazy? Is that, like, if there ever was, like, 2 wrongs don't make a right. But if there ever was a time where 2 wrongs made a right, this was the time. I cannot believe for the life of me that the world, everything that can happen, the butterfly effect, all this shit, the same year the exact same scenario happens and they both trade 2 points. I am okay, and I know it's wrong, but I'm okay with the ref doing that and just trade the 2 points. Seriously.
It's heaps wrong, but I'm also okay with it.
You know what I mean? Yeah, it's heaps wrong. It's bad reffing, but at the end of the day, at least they've traded 2 points, and now they're where they actually should be on the ladder. This game for me, I thought the Dragons' second half was outstanding. Benny Hunt is a joke. He's so good. That kicking game, Amon, amazing. You know, the thing with Amon is I just re-signed with the Dragons, and I wonder whether that contract negotiation was weighing on him a little bit, and then finally gets it done, and he comes out confident as anything and kills it, scored 3 tries. The Raiders, look, gutsy win to hold on to it. Really gutsy win. Came out, didn't blow them off the park, but dominated, I felt. Timmy, what did you think about the game, mate?
Yeah, they were pretty gritty win from the Raids. They, as they tend to do in second halves, did everything they could to lose it late on. That last was about 2 or 3 minutes to go, and they had an opportunity just to try and pot a field goal, make it a 7-point margin, game over, turned it over. Next thing you know, they're running downfield, and it was just like, shout out to Big Red, Corey Horsburgh. I think this really went unnoticed in the chaos of, the refereeing decision, but Big Red was chasing after Feeney for that one. Feeney was one-on-one with Xavier Savage, who we know is not the most noted defender. The inside pressure that Horsburgh had on Feeney was just enough that it meant he only really had one direction to go, and that was on the outside of Savage. Had Big Red not been chasing, would have had a one-on-one with him. He could have skinned him and scored very easily with a fend.
Vagai's footwork is fucking incredible.
Yeah.
So he would have.
Yeah, I wasn't going to say it, but you're right. He would have skinned him, and it would have been game over. So I don't think I saw anyone mention it, but Big Red's run, chasing him down, go back and look at it, it was next level.
Fucking Big Red, eh? When you're in the pits, you need a Big Red with you. Fucking oath, you need a Big Red with you. What about yourself? Gurino?
Yeah, as I said at the start, I was just so happy to see Amon finally have this game where he shows what he can do. I thought Ben Hunt, did he get a 40-20 and a 20-40?
Yeah.
I think it's the first time ever. 40-20 and a 20-40.
The last time ever too.
The 20-40 was like the game needed something. He just went, you know what, boom, get in the hooker, smack it, 20 minutes.
As a halfback, I'll get into
it. Yeah.
And I'll
it's like,
whack it.
He's literally done everything he possibly can to get his team back into the game. Yeah. So good.
They could have been your halves in Team of the Week. They nearly were both of mine in the losing team.
Yeah, 100%.
I thought like that on that last play, like as you said, Big Red chased him down and whatnot. The ball that Hunt threw to put him through that hole.
Oh, beautiful.
Oh, God.
It was a pearler.
Yeah.
If he would have scored, we'd be like, that pass would have been all over.
And it's also a set play because you know it's a set play because of the way Fagai hit his line. Like he hit that just in between the center and the winger, and it's hard defensively as a winger because you're a little bit back for the kick because it's like the game's on the line. You think they might kick, and so your spacing is never going to be perfect. Like if he's up flat to make sure that he can't get through, Benny Hunt can keep behind. And so it's like, it must be something that Benny Hunt has looked at video and thought about, like, if my game is on the line and I need to have a big play, what's the play? And because that seems like it's like specifically made for that last ditch play. It was so good. Such a good fucking ball.
How about Big Red, Queensland boy, obviously, AFL prodigy growing up.
No way.
He was a gun.
Fuck.
Can you imagine that in an AFL grand final if he chose the AFL path? Big 115 kilo.
Oh.
Big Red, Corey Horse was snapping one from 40 to win the Swans premiership.
Mate, how good would
what
that be?
What can't he do?
Seriously, Big Red. Like, imagine him AFL, he'd be so aggressive. Fuck, he'd be aggressive. Holy shit. But yeah, back to the Raiders. Real gritty win to hang on and get the job done like they did. There's still a chance. That's the good thing. There's still a chance. Albert Hopewadi continues to impress me with his ball running. Very strong. Scored a try. They just keep hanging on. They keep hanging on. It's going to be interesting to see. They've got a pretty... Was that their hardest game?
Well, we have Manly, but all of a sudden that's not looking as bad as we probably thought it was after what they dished up against the Titans. So, Manly was the hardest one we have.
So, if you can get past Manly all of a sudden...
Knights this week, Tigers round 25.
Just got to rely on other teams dropping ahead of you.
Yeah, and we do. We're a game off the Roosters, and then we're 2 games off the Rabbits, Broncos, Eels. So they've all got a better for and against. But again, if we win 3 in the trial, our Need 31 should improve. But every chance.
Fucking it'd suck if you won the next 3 games with a heap of momentum and no one else dropped.
If we miss out on 30 points, that'd be hard to take.
If you did miss out on 30 points, it shows you the quality of the competition this year.
Yeah. That'd be 14 wins and 10 losses.
And you miss the 8.
Miss.
And last year, the Titans made it with 10 wins and 14 losses.
Oh.
Yeah. Mate, the standard is so much higher. Like, so much higher. It's crazy. Any other ones stood out for you for the Raiders?
Hudson Young scored the first try. I think he's having a really good last few months. I think he could be a real smoky at the end of the year for that Kangaroos squad. Mate, just got the job done. It was ugly, but your season's on the line. You just got to find a way.
Anyone else for you, Jimmy?
All good, mate.
All good. Yeah, look, I just think they deserve a massive rap. Papali'i. Let's talk about Papali'i, Junior Paulo. Who else committed to Samoa? Anyway, Papali'i has committed to Samoa. Junior Paulo has. Really interesting. Now, does that mean that Queensland don't have the... Does that mean Papali'i doesn't have Queensland spirit? Does that mean that?
I'm happy to run with it.
Oh, look, I think this is incredible for the World Cup. Really, really incredible for the World Cup. I cannot wait now to see the World Cup. It gets more exciting with every single person that commits to some of the tiered nations. I think it's great for the game.
Putting Jerome Luai in there is going to be the key. It's always been a ball player that they've lacked. I assume New Brown will probably be the 9. Thinking off the dome. Is there anyone else?
Havili is Tongan, is he?
Yeah. He's Tongan, yeah.
Yeah.
So I'd say it'll be New Brown. And then I don't know who will partner Luai. Amon, who'll be in the halves, won't he?
Oh, is he Samoan? I think he is, actually. Or is he Tongan? Check it. But, yeah, Amon, Luai's not a bad bloody halves combination. Jeez. I wonder if Critter commits as well. That'd be interesting.
Yeah.
So he could be in the centres.
Moan's Tongan.
Who played in the halves for Samoa a few months ago? Might have been New Brown playing in the halves there.
Anyway, they've both committed. Really, really good for those 2 teams. They're going to be crucial if they want to succeed. Now, quickly onto the Dragons. Disappointing year for the Dragons? Because they're officially done now.
They're done now, yeah. Yeah, we had them as a smoky for top 8 footy. They've definitely fallen short of that. This is just such Dragons game. They hang in there, thereabouts. It's there to be won.
It's been like that all year for them.
It's just
they've just been there or thereabouts, but they haven't ever.
They've never been incredibly impressive.
Yeah.
They've never been terribly disappointing. But in games, I feel like they're disappointing. Then I look up and I go, "Fuck, okay, they're behind by 4. They can't be that bad."
Yeah. It's so true. It's so true. Like, if I went off the feeling they've given me this year, they'd be sitting at like maybe 11th or 12th. But then you look at them, you're like.
I meant they are 11th.
No, now, but throughout the year, they've been sitting around the 8 mark, 8, 9.
It's crazy though that they're 3 wins in front of Canterbury.
Yeah, it's bizarre. I just although the Cody Ramsey thing seemed like it's probably the right decision. Ramsey played really well. The concern I have is that you've got Sloan and Sullivan now that seem to be, I guess, not on the outer, but it just doesn't seem like they look like they're in their plans. And you may have lost 2 really good young players. Like the Sloan one for me especially, I just think they should have given him a little bit more time. Did they really improve that much when they got rid of him? Until Ramsey came in a few weeks later and he played really well, but as a team, did they really? I don't know.
It's hard, isn't it? Because now you're just perfect chance to give Sloan a run.
Yeah.
Give him us 3 games of the year. There's nothing on the line. But then it's you're also developing Cody Ramsey, who's been really good. So it'd be so harsh on Ramsey.
Yeah,
but for the future of the Dragons, you give him the 3 games, see what he can produce.
And Sloan was so good last year. So good.
And to his credit, I think Ramsey's been really good. As much as I didn't expect it. So if you were to rest him, I think you'd shatter both their confidence.
But long term, who do you reckon has that long term fullback?
I would have gone Sloan, but I probably think it's Ramsey now, realistically.
Yeah, look, Dragons are in a tough spot, especially when you look at the fact that they have 10 players in that top 100 list. and I just don't know who they bring to the club that's going to change much. I really don't. Like, this is essentially the squad that they're going to be dealing with next year. Is there anyone that you know of? Like, this is the squad they're rolling into next year. They're not getting younger.
Just minus a few.
Yeah, minus a few.
Tariq Sims, yeah. But there's no one coming in.
Yeah. So, disappointing. Look, I would say it's a disappointing year for the Dragons now. Like, to bow out, you know, I think a satisfactory year would have been around 8th or 9th. But to bow out, with 4 games to go? 3 games to go?
Yeah, 3 games to go. It's crazy that a halfback can play so well.
Yeah.
And it can still be such a disappointing season for
Ben Hunt. He might win the Dally M from a bottom 8 side. That's how good he's been.
Well, I'd like... Who have you got winning it at the moment?
Far out, I mean. Hines would probably be up there.
Hines would be up there.
Benny Hunt would be up there. I think Dylan Edwards might even be a little bit of a smoky because he's just killed it every game he's played. He's been getting recognised for it. Again, smoky, not saying he will be.
Munster's racking up points lately.
Yeah,
He's
Munster.
with a big finish.
Yeah, Munster. But probably Benny Hunt at the top right now.
Could Latrell be in the conversation or...
I reckon, like, even the last 2 weeks, Cam's got 3 the last 2 weeks. So mine is Hines for sure.
Hines, you reckon?
Yeah.
Hines or Benny Hunt, I'd say right now. Because Benny Hunt is the guy every week for the Dragons.
Yeah.
Like, there's no one else from... Like, Edwards probably is the best shout from Penrith, considering how many games he's played. I don't think there's been anyone from the Cowboys that could win it. Melbourne, it'd have to be Munster or no one. I don't think Brisbane. Adam Reynolds hasn't done enough this year. Like, he's missed footy and Parramatta, no one could win it from there. Roosters got too many troops, so...
Oh my God. Manly had 55% completion.
Yuck.
Holy shit.
Save it for Wednesday.
Oh my God. Anyway, okay, let's get into last game. Titans v Manly. Great win for the Titans. Like, yeah, okay, they leaked 24 points, but look, we're talking, it's the Titans. I thought their attack looked the best it's looked literally all year.
Yep, and there was... Mate, when I saw Tino was ruled out...
I thought they were going to...
Oh my God.
Yeah. I thought they were going to
Burn
get
the house.
belted.
Like, yeah.
Belted. I said it to you last week, and I might have sounded like a crazy person. Is Tanner Boyd the guy? I know it's a small sample size, but like there was even reports like Sexton may not play again this year. I feel like they look like a better side at the moment with Tanner at 7.
I was just waiting for Sexton to come back into the side. I just thought, I must have given him a week. And then when he didn't come in, I sort of went, geez, I don't know. Like, because then it also meant that they played Aaron Clark at 9. Like, it just made no sense to me to do what they did. But yeah, he was really good, Tanner Boyd. I've always been a big fan of him.
Well, he was the Australian 7 schoolboys, wasn't he?
He was a gun.
And he's been fucking slaving away at 9 and 14.
God.
I don't understand. Anyway, we'll talk about the positives. I thought Tanner Boyd was really good, really good. I thought Fafita's try was fucking Jesus, honestly. See, and guess what it come off? Good ball. He got a ball where he got to isolate players. He was running onto it. He wasn't flat-footed. And guess who are the 2 players he broke tackle? Schuster and Aloy.
Yeah.
Big fucking boys. And it was all because he got to isolate Schuster and push through the line. I think Brimo deserves such a rap, man. For a year that has been so bad for the Titans, every game Brimo was turning up, impacting the game. What did you boys think about the Titans?
Yeah, I think AJ was sensational. I thought Bo Furmore was really good as well. Fuck, he's been a find for them. Just out of no, like he'll never be on the 100 list or anything, but he just puts in every single week. Bo Furmore, big fan of him. I thought the Titans were very good. Great to see them winning. It's just been such a fucking tough year to watch for them. So I enjoyed watching them get up yesterday afternoon. I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to get next week.
Yeah. We don't
no
know
idea what to expect next week. Who they got next week?
No, I'm not sure, but
yeah,
just savour it, Titans fans. Fuck, who cares? Honestly, you won. Enjoy it, and it was a good, solid win.
44 points.
Yeah, bloody oath. Yes, that's winnable. Oh, we said it.
Yeah, I think they will win it. Sorry, yeah.
Can't wait for that one.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder. I'd love to know what Kieran Foran was thinking, standing on the other side, looking over, going, like, yeah, that they won, it was great, but like, Yeah, I just don't know what that team's going to look like next year. Someone big's going to have to miss. And I honestly thought 4 weeks ago Toby Sexton was the safest one.
Yeah, same.
He might be in the most danger now, which is just so typical of the Titans that it can change so quick. I mean, yeah. I think it broke after we were on last week, but Sam Verrills signing as well.
Really good signing.
Great signing.
Really
a good weekend
signing.
for the Titans. You watch Sam Verrills brain it for the Chooks, then they get this win.
Foreign coming.
There's positive signs
I
there.
put it this way. Even though Dragons finished higher, I actually am more excited for Titans next year with who they've brought into the club. With Dragons, they may finish better next year than the Titans. My concern is I don't see any progress there. In saying that, they've got Ben Hunt, who is literally one of the best players in the competition. But honestly, Verrills and Foreign really excite me for the Titans. They really do. What do you think, Timmy?
Yeah, you boys touched on most of them already. Same thing. I thought when Tino was ruled out, it was going to be one-sided very much. They're just great to see the Titans humming in attack again. They made a name for it last season, even though they conceded a lot, scoring a lot of points. And it was just like last season for me. They obviously had their issues there, particularly defensively, but humming in attack, Bowie Fermor, just fantastic. So consistent in a struggling side. I mean, realistically, you mentioned the completion rate of Manly. It's, as you said, enjoy the week for what it was.
Yeah.
I wouldn't get any false ideas of what might come at the end of the year, but a win's a win. They scored a lot of points. Happy days. Good luck to them.
Now, Manly. Is it concern time?
I think so. I think the
Do you think the incident in the middle of the year
100%
has rattled them?
Yeah, it seems that way. I don't. What else could you put this sudden?
I haven't seen Manly play like this in 2018, 4 or 5 years. I've never seen a Manly side play like this.
And in the most respectful way possible, it was the fucking Titans.
Mate,
They are a team that have shown the entire year that if you put 30 minutes of good footy on them, they will roll over. Mm-hmm. I cannot believe how poor Manly were.
Yep.
Conceding 44 points.
The Titans missed more tackles than the Manly. So Manly had 55% of the ball. The Titans missed more tackles.
Jesus.
Fuck. There's got to be more going on at Manly.
Manly had 40 less runs. Titans missed more tackles. Holy heckers. They had equal line breaks as well. Wow.
They finish with Sharks, Canberra, Bulldogs. There's a good chance they lose every single game after the incident.
Do you reckon Desi can galvanise them?
That's been the thing that surprised me. I mean, that's been his bread and butter for the last 15 years.
Well, I mean, the weird thing is I feel like their best match was when the situation happened. They came out ripping and tearing. And, when I watched these guys play on Sunday, this isn't the Manly side that we know. They don't look anywhere near as committed for each other. What do you reckon, Timmy?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to argue that didn't rattle them because, for a side that's been so gritty for such a long time and really, they get up against adversity so well, they were disgraceful on the weekend. Playing for a final spot against the side on the bottom of the ladder and they get 44 points put on them. They weren't even, I don't think they were missing any players either, were they? Well,
Not really.
Pretty close to full strength. So Manly fans would have been gutted watching that.
Yeah, I cannot believe it. I never thought I'd see. Well, I mean, every club has these poor games. You look at the Broncos when they were struggling, but this just feels like it's come out of nowhere because a few weeks ago we were sitting here saying how impressed we were with the fact that they lost Tom Trbojevic and they circled the wagons. They galvanised. And then the report came out the week of the game that if Desi doesn't win this game, he's in trouble. And also that they haven't enacted an extension, as if to say that Desi might not even be the coach next year, which is crazy to me. Crazy to think, Desi to get... Have they not learnt the lesson? Desi's the guy. He can get them to a premiership. They were in a prelim.
Yeah.
It's
not Desi's fault.
Oh, mate.
Look lose Tom Trbojevic, their best player on big money, who basically doesn't play all season. They've, the saga a couple of weeks ago, like all of that's out of Desi's hands.
Oh man, I
can't believe, and without going into it, I just can't believe that they put him out there for the press conference.
Yeah.
The fuck is that about?
Yeah.
There has to be more to that.
As in the press conference and then potentially
how
second?
on earth could whoever's making these decisions at Manly go, okay, we'll put the coach out there to wear this one, we'll hang him out to dry, and then 3 weeks later when they go shit go, maybe we need to change a coach.
Mate, it's bizarre.
Buy a fucking mirror. Good God.
It's bizarre. I won't get more into that press conference, but the fact that there was an admin there is very surprising to me.
And now they're pushing reports that
he might be out.
His fault.
I just, man, I'm worried this could get worse before it gets better.
I think it definitely, yeah.
And now, if there is one man, the mad scientist is Desi Hazzle that can turn this around. And we said that even when it all happened. I thought personally he handled the situation really, really well. But I'm really concerned. That performance is so out of the blue for me, for a Manly side, that impresses me every week. So hopefully they can turn it around. I really, really hope they can. Because they're exciting to watch. They really are. They've really become a team that I enjoy watching, Manly. Just they battle, and when their back's against the wall, they seem to turn up. So anyway, that's us done and dusted, guys. Done and dusted. Make sure to give at Rugby League Guru a follow on Instagram, and also subscribe podcast and SC Playbook. Make sure to grab a case of Bloke In A Bar. Also, grab a dad shirt. Go to bloke.shop. We've got plenty of stuff there. Got anything to say, boys?
Beers and Break-Evens will be back on Wednesday, so if you'd like to join us there on YouTube.
Beers and Break-Evens. Make sure to be there. And as usual, I'll go and fuck myself. Thank you.